Live. What up, guys? Welcome back to Almost Functional. Today we're going to be going over the Space Marine Index, and I got my friend Nick Herding here to give us his input on it as well, and his theories on what will and won't probably be good with Marines right now. So, with that, I'm going to say hi, Nick.
Hey, what's up, Matt? Thanks for joining us, guys.
All right, and then this is 252 pages, so we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Oh, let's fix this real quick. There we go. All right, and so you got it pulled up over there, Nick. I'm just figuring it'll start at the first page.
Yep.
All right, so
Yeah. So
yeah, you want to go ahead and go into it?
right. So we've got Space Marines. So spoiled yesterday, which was June 9th. We're doing this on the 10th. Basically, right now we've got all the data sheets for Space Marines as well as the characters for 5 different chapters. You've got your Iron Hands, Imperial Fist, stuff like that. Um, so basically, jumping right into it. Um, First page, like you have probably the most important thing, which is the Oath of Moment. Um, Oath of Moment is similar for older players. It's similar to Seal of Oath with what you had in Ninth Edition. It was Ultramarines Relic Seal of Oath. Basically, in your for your command phase, you select one enemy unit, and then any attack that you make with any Space Marine rerolls hits and wounds against that target. And basically that applies every command phase. So really strong ability. It definitely will define the faction.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, from the few little pre-battle reports and stuff, they say that's pretty much the whole strategy is going to revolve around where you put your Oath of the Moment. Uh,
And I think I like what they did here, like because the basically just starting off the first page. This is the most important page because that ability will pretty much always come into effect. Um, if you have your combats going on late game, or you have your Devastator Doctrine and your heavy weapons going off, at the beginning of the game, it'll always come into play every turn.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and then
so
yeah, and then they give us some more info on the chapters, just saying if you have a second faction keyword on your data sheet, I'm assuming that would be like White Scars or Salamanders or something like that. You have both Adeptus Astartes and that, just like they're saying Calgar has Adeptus Astartes and Ultramarines. And you cannot include units for more than one chapter in your army, which we kind of suspected, but it's just clarified right there. Uh,
yep. So this is interesting too with this chapter restriction because what this means right now is for the chapters you have your Ultramarines, Iron Hands, Imperial Fists, Raven Guard, and Salamanders. The only chapter benefit you're getting is going to be just the characters that you're able to bring. So that it's nice that at the end of this document they show us some characters. Some of them are not so good, and some of them, like Tor Garadon, are extremely good. So the Imperial Fist players will definitely have a good time with that.
yeah, we'll see if it stays that way when they release the other ones on Monday, but it looks like everybody, because it looks like all Marines are getting Oath of the Moment, and the only other rule you get is whatever your detachment ability is, and then everything else is going to come from your special characters.
Right, and it's nice that now, instead of having an entire army that's chapter specific, you can basically just slot in the character and then you become that chapter. So it adds a good amount of flexibility into maybe getting into different chapters, playing different chapters, and it makes the characters seem more epic.
Yeah, and you and I talked about this, but I'm also interested to see whether Blood Angel, Space, with all the stuff that comes Monday, will have access to this detachment in the Space Marine one, or if they're going to be stuck with their specific one. Because that would just give them a little more versatility, and some of them I think would actually be better in the Gladius than in their specific ones that were previewed.
Right, and it seems to be based on what we've seen that it will allow you to pick Gladius or the chapter specific one. So
Yeah,
hopefully hopefully that's the direction that they go with this, because the as it stands right now, the Gladius, we can, like, I guess, go on to the next page, because the Gladius task force, that's your generic detachment. You've got your three doctrines. So doctrines are similar as before, but now you can select each one of them once per battle. So you're not forced to do a doctrine, and then the doctrine effect, which it gives your army, applies to every model, and it's really, really strong.
Yeah.
Um,
And you can do them in
so I
any
guess
order
you can.
now. You don't have to go Devastator down to Assault.
Right. This is especially strong rule. I guess you can go over this one.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically at the start of your command phase, you get to select one of the three doctrines. So, 5 turn game, you'll have these for three of the turns. You can have one of these active. You can't duplicate one. Uh, so you just get each one of them once. So then Devastator, you get Advance and Shoot. So basically all your weapons become Assault pretty much, which is huge. Which what Ravenwing got to do in Devastator Doctrine last edition, and it was really strong. Then Tactical gives you the ability to fall back and still shoot and charge. So this is just gives you a lot of flexibility. So, and the nice thing about this is since you can fall back and shoot, you're able to fall back and do they're not actions, but they are actions on a lot of the secondaries. And then the Assault Doctrine lets you advance and charge. So, just really every one of those is useful. Every one of those most armies can use every game. It's just once again it's just really playing into the tactical flexibility of Marines, which I think is really cool.
That's a great point, actually, with tactical doctrine. I didn't realize that would make you eligible to do actions now. So that's definitely a huge buff. Also, we have to consider that with they've removed actions in this edition. However, you still do actions, like quote unquote actions, instead of shooting. So it just takes the place of shooting, but there's no official term for it.
Right.
But what that means in terms of, like, army building, you're no longer going to rely on your action monkeys or cheap action monkeys, because now you could have a unit such as, like, a land speeder do it. So if you basically you could, as an example, you could have a unit of scouts, maybe like a cheap unit of scouts, or a cheap unit, a cheap land speeder, and then that unit could fall back, let's say 14 inches, 14 inches for a land speeder. There's a bunch of vehicles that might move 10 to 12, and then do an action after that. So tactical actually gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of the secondary scoring.
Well, yeah, and then actually Devastator does too, because you can advance and still shoot. Because all you have to do is be eligible to shoot for all the ones I've seen. So when
Right,
you're
right.
in Devastator, you can advance to that objective and or the middle of the table, or wherever you have to get to do the thing. And
Yeah.
and it's
So it
yeah,
really
any
gives you.
and it's any unit a lot, and like I think some of them might clarify no aircraft, but some of them don't. Like it's really any unit in your army. You could like drop in with a drop pod, jump your guys out, shoot with the guys. Like, oh, I'm not going to shoot the drop pod stormbolter. It's going to do the action thing.
Yeah, and I think that's totally legit right now. I think that's how they're going to have it, and we haven't really seen any anti. Like right now, for example, the way that this needs to be clarified next week, but they haven't restricted aircraft at all from doing from scoring points, like scoring what's it, engage on all fronts,
Yep.
or
Yeah, there was a
so we'll
couple
we'll see what
things where
happens.
it said no, not including aircraft, but yeah, there was a bunch that it didn't. So, but with the other
Yeah, we're
restrictions they put on them, and they're like they have to move at least 20, so maybe they're like you got to plan a turn or two ahead to have them in position to do it. So maybe they're like think that's enough of a restriction.
Yeah, and these combat doctrines. I mean, all three of them are so strong, and they even get stronger too, because we've got, if we go on to the next 2 pages here, um, it's really nice how they've condensed this. So we move into stratagems. Basically, we've only got 6 stratagems. So there's, instead of the, previously you might have been working with 24 to 36, 36 to 40 different stratagems
Yep.
between your Blood Angels, Dark Angels, specific ones, and the all the Space Marine ones, which came from different sources. So they've really, this is kind of like a best of compilation stratagems. They've condensed this down to only 6, and I would say all of them are pretty good. I think maybe 2 or 3 of these are the ones that you'll want to see every turn, but Um, we've got one in here that allows what is this adaptive strategy. So one CP in your command phase, you can select a doctrine, and it makes that doctrine active for that unit for the whole. It looks like for the whole round.
Yeah, yeah. So you
So
do it in your command phase, and it's till the start of the next command phase. So it's all through your turn and the opponent's turn.
right. So and you could do this at, like from the start of one. There's not really any terms or conditions on that. So this is like just being able to hand out. If you know you need to have your unit do the action. If you know you have to get in position, maybe advance in charge is probably the one that's going to be most impactful right away. But this also combos with a couple other things that key off of doctrines. So there's a lot of like real strong rules interactions with the doctrines now.
Well, yeah, it's nice. Like, man, I really want to be in this doctrine for my whole army, but man, this one certain specific unit doing this one thing would be better in a different doctrine. Well, just spend a CP and you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And another nice thing about this is going into combos. Like the captain with the Terminators that does a strat for 0 CP, he can just every turn, if you don't have anything else to do with him, choose which doctrine would be best for the Terminator unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives, especially with that captain. The captain rule gives a lot of flexibility. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
All right, well, I'm gonna go up to these first three stratagems to go over them real quick. So we got only in death does duty end. This is basically a fight on death, and so just basically in the fight phase, you pick one of your units when they're selected as targets, and if they die, uh, they get to fight after the enemy unit has fighted. And this one, they just auto fight. I've seen some of them like have a 4-up you have to roll to fight. The Marines one doesn't look like it does. You just anybody that dies get to fight. And then they're giving us Armor of Contempt, which is in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase, which can be on either person's turn. Then you have one Adept of the Starter's unit from your army. Basically, it's the Neg 1 AP that Armor of Contempt was army-wide last edition. So you can do it on one unit. And then we have Honor the Chapter, which is also in the fight phase. It's just one unit. Uh, and to the end of the phase, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the Lance ability. And if you're in the Assault Doctrine, you get an extra AP as well. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, these are definitely good. I think what this that honor the chapter is really only that's fight phase only. It's really only going to apply to things on the charge. Um, with a lot of the rules we have right now, for example, we don't have the Blood Angels rules, so we haven't seen combat units that are really really strong, aside from maybe Gilliman and some of the dreadnoughts. So Space Marines have definitely, with the current rule set, they're definitely leaning into shooting more often because it's especially easier to benefit from their Oath of Moment in shooting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These
Um,
are all detachment stratagems, so they're not marine stratagems. So if you take one of the other detachments, you won't. When the other ones come out, you won't get this. And if you take this detachment, you'll get all these, but you won't get ever like Space Wolf or Blood Angel strats you get. So you basically have to choose which tree of stratagems and detachment abilities work best for you.
yep. So I guess looking at the next page, we've got the adaptive strategy. That's one CP allows you to pick the doctrine for one unit, lasts for the whole round. So we talked about how that's good. Um, the next one, this is probably the strongest one. It's called Storm of Fire. So Storm of Fire is one CP shooting phase. Pick a Space Marine unit. Until the end of the phase, their guns ignore cover. They gain the ignore cover ability, and if Devastator Doctrine is active, you also increase your AP of the guns by one. So this opens up all sorts of combos. You can even combo it with Adaptive Strategy to put a unit in Dev Doctrine.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean
and just
that's gonna be
yeah,
expensive. There's two CP, which we're gonna have less CP. But if you combo it with the captain, where you're doing one of them free, that's really point wise, CP wise, very cheap. One CP to get both of those.
yeah. And in this edition, because this can be effectively depending on what you're shooting, we're going to see cover a lot because of how they've made it so every model can potentially benefit from cover.
Yep.
Having ignores cover is especially relevant now. And Space Marines typically they're looking like they don't really have any cheap options. Like once you look through the data sheets, they're definitely an elite army. Everything about them. Even the scouts looks like they've gone up in points. They've gone up to 2 wounds. So the stuff that was formerly cheap, like you're gonna need to get a lot of value out of your attacks. And I think Storm of Value plays into the Space Marine game plan perfectly. Just making sure that you get your most value and highest damage out of your out of your shooting units.
Yeah, so you think no matter how you build it, you're probably not going to have as many trading pieces as like GSC or Dark Eldar.
Correct. And we know that GSC and most likely Chaos will have some sort of like cultist recursion mechanic. So there's going to be GSC has a built-in recursion mechanic where if their battle line units die, they just come back. They just go back in their
Yeah,
strategic reserve. So you're going to be Space Marines especially will really have to be playing whack-a-mole. This is something we saw in later edition or in earlier editions where stuff would recur for the whole game, such as like demons coming back to fight Grey Knights and things like that. But yeah, so Storm of Fire definitely is that's the one that you'd probably want to press every turn, I think.
yeah, I agree. And then we got the squad tactics, which is in your opponent's movement phase, just after enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fallback move. One infantry or mounted unit from your army within 9 inches of that unit can make a normal move of up to d6 inches, or a normal move of up to 6 inches instead if you're in Tactical Doctrine. You cannot select a unit that is within engagement range or one or more enemy units. So yeah, basically someone falls back or makes any kind of move and ends with a 9 of you, you can just have one of your units move.
This one it's interesting. This reminds me of Rapid Ingress a little bit, but it's not really as powerful. Rapid Ingress, of course, is one of the core stratagems that allows a deep strike on the opponent's turn.
Yep.
But this is basically a feint move, but it's not a full move. It's a D6 or a 6-inch move. So it's a little bit weaker than I guess like what we expected, but it could still potentially. This is a situational one, so it could potentially be really good if you're able to steal an objective or walk out of charge range or something like that.
Yeah, that's to say, walking out of charge range is probably going to be what this is used for most of the time. Someone moves up trying to get that short charge, especially if you're in tactile and you just auto add 6 inches to their charge, like that's huge.
And I view this definitely as something that'll be situational against combat armies. Like maybe if you go up against like your world eaters or your space wolves or something like that, this could make it your squishy units. If you're using this to run away and hide your Hellblasters or Desolation Squad or something, it could be pretty strong.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, and so that's the strats. So what do they got next? They roll us into the enhancements.
Enhancements.
All right, so these basically are replacing warlord traits and relics. Now they're just called enhancements. So first one we got is Artificer Armor, which is Adeptus Astartes model only. The bearer has a save characters of 2+ and a feel no pain of 5+. That's really solid. And then next we got the Honor Vehement. Adeptus Astartes model only. Add 1 to the attacks and strength characteristics of the bearer's melee weapons. While the bearer is under the effects of the Assault Doctrine, add 2 to the attacks and strength characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons instead. So that's cool. Just give them a little more punch. Like if you only have so many enhancements, I don't know how good that one is. Just given one model, 1 extra attack or strength, or possibly 2 for 1 turn.
It's a little bit. Some of these are a little bit underwhelming. There's 4 of these, but one of them really stands out. So I definitely want to focus on that one. But I think that these have an associated points cost. So it could be that, for example, like Artifice Armor might be around 20 points, and then Honor Vehement's not really as good. So I would assume that it's a cheaper sort of enhancement. The reason that might be good though is if you have that smash character, like let's say that you have that a good example would be like your Outriders with your bike chaplain attached to that. That's basically it's a decent shooting unit and it's a good combat unit. So maybe throwing that 15 point, 20 point upgrade on the smash. Well, bike chaplain. It used to be smash chaplain, but now it's more just a bike chaplain.
Yeah.
It just makes them hit a little bit harder, um, bumping the strength up to maybe strength 7, maybe strength
True.
8,
And so
depending.
yeah, so that's the big thing too. So you're paying actual points, not CP for these things now.
Yeah, that's. I wish they had done that in ninth because the CP throughout ninth they really didn't do a great job with the CP economy changing from where it was at the beginning to the start to the end of the edition. There was a big,
Yeah.
very big change in how CP expenditure worked. So these costing points it's a good change for the game and it's logical. It's easier for them to balance as well. Instead of just everything costing 1 CP, they can actually assign it a granular points value, which is great for the actual balance.
Yeah, because I think they had an idea of what they wanted CP to be at the start of the edition, and then it wasn't quite working that way. And the rest of the edition, they were just tweaking, and then now I think they learned from all the playing around with it they did in ninth and have a better handle on it.
And this is more of a rumor, but I've heard that some of these enhancements that we're going to see in the next week are going to be some of them will be very strong. And one of these, spoiler, one of these Space Marine ones is actually extremely strong. So,
Oh, all right.
um,
Well, we should
I
see all those
I
Monday.
guess
So,
yeah. So there's two more enhancements. I guess Adept of the Codex. This one's specific to a captain. Uh, Captain only. Start of your command phase, if they're on the battlefield, instead of selecting a combat doctrine, you can select the tactical doctrine, and then that. So it basically auto puts the captain's unit into the tactical doctrine. Um, that doctrine is active for only that unit. So this is essentially you pay points, and then instead of having to spend a CP to put that unit in tactical, they can always be tactical. So this
right.
is basically a free 1 CP every turn if you'd like.
And it says you
So I
can,
think
so they don't have to be tactical if they don't want to.
correct. So this is actually pretty strong,
Yeah.
um, but it's not as strong as the last one. So Bolter Discipline, this is the one everyone's kind of losing their minds about. So this can go on any Space Marine. We're assuming character. It looks like. While the bear's leading unit, ranged weapons equipped by models in the unit have sustained hits. Sustained hits 1. So that's another word for exploding sixes. In addition, so that's only for guns because it's called Bolter Discipline. In addition, while the bear's unit is under the effects of Devastator Doctrine, each time a model in that unit makes a ranged attack, an unmodified 5 will score a critical hit. So the critical hit mechanic will trigger sustained hits on a 5 if you're under Devastator Doctrine. So this combos really nicely with the tactical stratagem, the adaptive strategy. So 1 CP, put them in Devastator, and then 5s explode. So and this also there's no restriction on which weapons this applies to. So it could be something like as simple as tactical marines or devastators, and then it could be something elite as like your hellblasters, or your desolation squad. That's the one that everyone's been talking about, just because they're throwing out so many shots. So you just having exploding 5s is almost it's almost universally applicable. So I expect that this will be an expensive one. Like this might cost 40 or 50 points to make this to give this character the Bolter Discipline, but it's really fantastic that this works on every type of gun and there's no real restrictions on it. So it definitely very strong upgrade.
And I guess we'll see as we go through the data sheets. I know you've seen them a little bit. I haven't really looked at them yet. But whether or not what units or what characters can and cannot join like Devastators or Desolation Marines. Because depending on what characters can join them, you have to take that character and give them the strat. So hopefully they're doing a little more than just that. Like if the character does nothing but that, and you're paying for the points for that and the character, you could be paying a hefty price just to give this for that one unit.
And I definitely have some favorites out of the characters because unfortunately it doesn't look like a lot of the firstborn stuff is very good. It's not necessarily as good as we expected. But the good thing is that Primaris is gone for the most part. So you still have that flexibility of maybe taking like a cheaper tactical squad versus like a more expensive Primaris style squad. Just based on some of the rules, some of the special abilities on these data sheets, though, I think that a lot of the newer models and the Primaris models will have a rules advantage versus the old stuff.
Yeah, but if the old stuff's cheap enough, you might be able to take one or two little units just to hold some backfield objectives or something, throw away screens or something.
Right, that definitely, because I think the way that they have, if we look at the tactical, well, we'll get to it in a little bit, but the tactical marine data sheet, it appears that they're going to have all free war gear on tactical marines. So I think they have that right now as well. But yeah, they definitely need something like that just so people even consider taking them. Uh,
All right. Well, if you want, we can roll
all
right
right,
into the data sheets.
yeah. So
So
they've
yeah,
got
I
a
mean, and
they've got a lot of these lined up.
yeah, this
Uh,
is such a long document. We don't have to go through every weapon and everything on everybody unless it's something that really sticks out to you. We'll get into it a little more in depth. But anything that's just kind of generic, we can kind of probably just skim over.
Yeah, so there's a good amount of like for example, you've got your just like before, you got your captains,
Yep.
lieutenants, librarians, chaplains. Um, some of the I guess I can go over some of the structure of how they have this laid out.
Yeah.
So the main leader characters that have a lot of flexibility to join units are your captains, lieutenants, librarians, and chaplains. And then they kind of have it tiered kind of into a second string of characters that are allowed to join units in addition to the first string. So your second string is your ancients, your apothecaries, um, and your what was the other one?
Lieutenant?
No, not the lieutenant.
No, not the lieutenant.
I think there was it'd be like a yeah, ancient lieutenant, and there was one other one. I don't know. He's in there somewhere. Basically, Space Marines have a lot of characters, and
Yep.
in general, a lot of these you're not going to see because each character as a leader can only join. They're restricted. So that, for example, a Primaris captain can join a Blade Guard veteran squad, but none of the other captains that exist, such as the Gravis captain, the old captain, the Terminator captain, none of those are eligible to join a Blade Guard squad.
Yeah, it's really
So
restricted by what armor type for the most part, right?
correct. So it's very restrictive. A good example of this would be like your Desolation Squad. So you have there's some units. So with the Desolation Squad, only two leaders can join this unit. So you've got your Primaris Librarian and your Primaris Apothecary, and that's it. So the Desolation Squad can't even have a captain or a lieutenant or a chaplain. Um,
Well, that's
I
probably
guess
good because if you gave them a captain with that enhancement, and he could give them free stratagems, they'd probably be pretty gross.
I agree. I think it would be really problematic because what that captain would let you do is every battle round you could do a free Overwatch, and the way Overwatch works in this edition is ridiculous. I think there's 9 different ways you can trigger it. It's basically whenever an enemy moves that ends within 24 of your unit, you can Overwatch, and on an indirect fire unit like a Desolation Squad, it's especially crazy. I guess I keep applying everything to them, but they definitely use these characters to balance and add power into your regular Space Marine squads in a way that feels pretty good. It's also nice that depending on how you build your list, you don't have to attach these pregame. So you have flexibility when you set up your army and you deploy. You can assign the leaders to different squads if you set up your list that way. So there's kind of a deck building, list building aspect here that gives you flexibility based on what opponent you're up against.
Gotcha.
Um,
And
so
Overwatch, yeah, it doesn't say you have to have line of sight, right? They just have to end a move within range.
correct, yeah. It doesn't key off of anything. Um, So I guess I think instead of going over these sheets individually,
Yep.
some of them have like some little unique abilities, but I'd rather just kind of like so for captains, you've got your Primaris captain, your Gravis captain, um, you've got your Phobos captain, he's pretty interesting, and then you've got your Terminator captain, and then your regular old Space Marine captain.
Yep.
Um, there's also captain on jump pack. They kept these old data sheets that are kind of like relics of older editions. So captain jump pack is still a thing. They didn't move any of these old models into legends. Captain on bike is also still a thing.
Yep.
So that covers, I think it's 6 or 7 different types of captains,
Yep.
similar to what we have now.
And it looks like every captain has the rights of battle, the zero CP stratagem thing. and then
Correct.
they
Yeah.
all each have a different second rule that makes them unique.
Right. So in general, I think when you build your Space Marines, I think you're going to want to do. Keep in mind, every captain has the rights of battle.
Yeah,
This ability is good enough where I think you would always want to include one captain in your
yeah,
army.
absolutely.
Once per battle round, one unit from your army with this ability can be targeted by a stratagem for 0 CP, even if another unit from your army has already been targeted by that stratagem this phase. So the reason that this is so good is you can do it anytime during the battle round. This is basically a reaction. So you can do a free Overwatch, you could do a free heroic intervention, you could do basically anything you want. So this is extremely good. Like when you consider some of the core stratagems, because heroic intervention is basically an out of activation charge now that can go on any unit. So the idea of having, for example, like your Terminator unit or your Blade Guard unit, something like that, being able to charge out of activation for free is really really strong. Um,
And now the command reroll strat. Say you're doing a charge with them. Does that count as being on the unit? Could you do the command reroll for free?
yes, yeah, it does because if the dice roll affects the unit, I believe. Yeah, I think that's how targeting works. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's
Good.
my first thought. So if we're wrong, somebody let us know. But that's big because there's that one mission special rule where the command reroll becomes 2 CP.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're playing that mission, you just save this for them on their charge or whatever. If you got a longer charge and save yourself 2 CP.
Another reason this is so flexible is that this ability specifically lets you double up on a stratagem. So
Yeah,
let's say that you were playing Blood Angels and you're playing against orcs or something like that as an example. Um, well, getting hit with a ton of orcs, like a ton of mega knobs, would be typically that would be horrible for the Blood Angel player. But if you set up your models correctly, you might be able to spend 2 CP to heroic intervene a unit of let's say your Sanguinary Guard or your Terminators or something like that, and then your unit with the captain, if they're positioned correctly, then they could do it again for free. So you could essentially do a double heroic, which is it would just create a really interesting and strong. It's basically a really strong maneuver that you couldn't do it all in this edition because
yeah,
you still have to roll your charge, but that situation would basically be a double. It would be a double 6-inch heroic from two different full units of models, which is pretty wild.
yeah. Or if you're running some of the new Infernus Marines, if put one of the captains in with them, somebody gets close, just double Overwatch them with flamers before they can even try to charge you.
Correct. Yeah. This would also allow you to double up on the Overwatch, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So some of
Um,
this stuff we'll see once it plays out if it stays, because sometimes they do stuff like this and then stuff that we all see as obvious and do right away. They're like, "Oh, we never thought of that." And we're like, "That's the first thing everyone else thought of."
yeah. So I guess closing out these captains, just kind of a brief overview. They all have the 4-up invuln. Um, they're basically what you expect. They all have 5 or 6 wounds. Um, 3-up save. It's very similar to what we have now. You've got a good selection of weapons. You've got your master crafted bolt rifles and so on. So there's nothing in here as far as like profiles that really stand out a lot.
Yeah,
The Primaris one,
their abilities are what's cool. All their weapons are stuff you'll see in other units.
correct, yeah. So I would say Primaris Captain is probably the most flexible one. Gravis Captain is going to be your tougher one that joins your Gravis Armor guys, which is your aggressors, eradicators, heavy intercessors. The Phobos Cats I'll touch on for a second because he has a redeploy ability. The Phobos units, he's also allowed to join scout snipers, which is interesting because
Mm.
he's basically a Primaris hanging out with those firstborn scouts. So I really like that. He does have a pretty strong ability here, which I think that this Phobos captain is going to see you play a lot. For me personally, I'm a little bit biased towards the Phobos captain because I have a really nice painted one, but he basically has this ability called Master of Deceit. So he lets scout units or Phobos units redeploy after you know who's going first. So it's basically three of those units that meet that type can either redeploy or go into strategic reserve. So we've seen consistently like throughout editions of the game, being able to redeploy your scout units is really really strong. And
Absolutely.
I think that this guy will certainly see some play, especially when you consider that there's a really strong ability on the Incursor squad, which is a Phobos, as well as on the Scout Sniper squad, which is not Phobos, but they just have an insanely strong
Yeah.
ability baked into them.
Well, yeah,
So
and
we'll
the Phobos snipers, yeah, your infiltrators to mess with deep strikes. Yeah, I'm sure people can come up with all sorts of ways to make this useful.
Yep. So we're definitely good impression on on scouts and Phobos units. I think that they'll see a lot of play, and I think a lot of the scout and Phobos units have advantages over a lot of the other generic Space Marines that you have in here. So
Oh yeah, and like last edition, I never left home without some infiltrators if I was playing Marines, so that's good to see they're still going to be
yep,
good. All
yep.
right.
I guess well the next one, so Terminator Captain, everybody's seen this guy already. I won't talk about him. And then the regular captain's pretty much same
Yeah,
thing as the Primaris.
yeah, we can roll
He
on past the captains if you want.
Yep. Yep. So go. Yeah. I guess we got lieutenants. Yeah.
Yep. So basically, they got the first one here has tactical precision. So when he's leading a unit, lethal hits, and his target priorities unit to eligible shoot and declare a charge when they fell back. That's really nice, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it
Yeah.
looks
It's
like
like it's like tactical.
yeah, so it looks like tactical precision is going to be the one that all the lieutenants have, and then they're all going same as the captain's going to have a second one that makes each unit stand out. So is there any of these that stood out to you, like the couple captains you really liked?
Uh. Well, with the lieutenants, I mean, it doesn't seem like what they're doing is that applicable. You have some of them giving lethal hits, which makes you that means your sixes to hit will auto wound.
Yep.
Um, so it's a good ability, but also it's situational because we don't always need auto wounding. Like we'd in a lot of situations we'd rather have the exploding fives and sixes from maybe a bolter discipline guy.
Yep.
Um, and unfortunately, the abilities that the lieutenants have are just nowhere near as flexible or as good as the captain abilities. So far, none of these lieutenants don't stand out so much. So you've got your Phobos lieutenant, your Reaver lieutenant, your Primaris lieutenant, not really standing out too much.
Well, the regular lieutenant and the Primaris lieutenant, as I was just scanning through, they both give their units they're leading the ability to shoot and charge when they fell back. So they basically keep their units in tactical doctrine at all time.
Right, yeah. So they're permanently tactical. I mean, they'd be good on a fast unit. It's just unfortunately a lot of these units that they can lead are not fast units. So I
Yeah,
mean,
but that
being
also
able to fall
gives
back
them
and
the ability to fall back into your actions if you need them to. So just having that built into some of the units you're trying to maybe push midboard, not necessarily get far, or they could be popping out of a rhino or something. So necessarily not being fast themselves. Like if you use rhinos and transport, you can still get them in a decent position where they might fall back and do one of those actions. Especially if you're doing tactical cards where you're drawing, you can't pre-plan for what cards you're going to draw the next turn.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. So the lieutenants, I would say, give you a lot of movement. They focus on
Yeah,
a lot of movement flexibility. But objectively, they don't seem as strong as a lot of the other character
yeah.
options yet. But
Now we'll
we
see what
haven't
their
seen points
points
yet.
are
It
though.
could be
Yeah,
that
that's what
all
I say.
these lieutenants are 50 points.
That's what I say. If
So
they're fairly cheap, yeah, might as well just throw one in to give one or two units that ability. But yeah, but if they're like 100 points, then no, it's not enough to bring them. But it's an interesting little rule. But yeah, depends on how much they're
I
charging us
think
for them.
I think the lieutenants are a good example of like them continuing trends that they have with points right now. Because right now, if you take a Space Marine captain, you might spend around 100 points, and
Hmm.
then but the Primaris lieutenant, for example, is only 60 points.
Yep.
So I think that's probably going to. But we already know that assassination is still a thing. So is it worth the risk of like increasing your assassination points that you give up? But we'll find out later.
Yep. Yeah, we'll see. But with them being able to join
um,
units, depending on what units you join them to, they're a lot harder to pick out characters now than it used to be. Because used to be, if you had him standing next to a five-man
mhm,
unit, all you had to do was kill three of them, then you can start shooting him. Now you got to kill all five of them away from him before you can even start doing anything to him.
mhm.
But Yeah, so it's solid. Yeah, it's not amazing. We'll see what their points are.
Yep, yep. Um, so the I guess the next section here is going to be librarians.
Yep.
Um, these librarians actually seem really strong. I think that I think that all of them except for they got rid of the jump pack librarian.
All right.
I don't think that the regular old librarian, like the one that joins the attack squads, will see much play, of course. But the other three, I think, because we're gonna get that new model librarian Terminator armor in the Leviathan box.
Yep.
That guy is really good, and then the other two are even better. So I think your Phobos librarian I think is especially powerful because of his ability, and I also think that the Primaris librarian is going to be basically a superhero because he slots into all the strong squads that you're going to want to take here. So I'll touch on these three, go over it.
All right.
So your librarian's a psyker, of course. They all have the psychic hood ability. Psychic hood is a while this model's leading a unit, models in the unit have a 4-up feel no pain against psychic attacks. So those psychic attacks could be ranged or combat.
Yep.
It's basically that just means attacks that have the psychic keyword.
Yes.
So it's particularly interesting because if you go up against Grey Knights kind of across the board they've given them psychic in combat and ranged, and then even stuff like your Nids or your Thousand Suns, they're going to have a lot of guns. Almost all of their guns that they're going to be putting out are going to be psychic. So just having a 4-up feel no pain against these armies, it creates a really good amount of durability. But as good as that ability is, that's the generic librarian ability. That's not as good as like the specific ability that these characters have. So in the case of the Primaris librarian, he's got the mental fortress. What that means is when he's leading a unit, models in the unit just have a 4-up invulnerable save.
That's nice.
So as far yeah, so this is just I mean that's similar to the what was it called, the null zone, or the I think it was called Psychic Fortress.
Psychic
I think
Fortress,
in
yep.
ninth edition.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically the reason that this is so good though is you don't have to roll for it. There's no drawbacks. It's always
Yep.
in effect. So there's no drawbacks.
Yeah, they did that with a lot of the psychics.
So
This
it's
auto happen.
correct, yeah. And they represent that stuff really well with Space Marines here because we're not seeing any negatives like you saw, for example, like with orcs to jump, there was a negative effect, and with some of the T-Suns and Eldar ones, there was a negative effect that happens on ones that you had to roll for it. So Space Marines are more consistent. Like we're not seeing any of those negative psychic effects.
Oh, he can't join.
So I
He can't join the Blade Guard.
Right, he
Oh.
can't join the Blade Guard, but that's okay because the Blade Guard already have a 4-up invuln from their shield. So.
No, but that 4-up against psychic would have been nice.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think we'll see this guy a lot because he's so good at protecting your unit.
Yep.
The units he joins are you've got some of your best units here. You've got your intercessors and assault intercessors, which are those are basically your standard battle line guys, and then this is like the best of list right here. You've got your Desolation, your Sternguard veterans, your Hellblasters, and your Infernus. So you've got those 4 picks are basically your go-to, your go-to squads, your damage dealers in this edition. So just giving them that level of durability, and potentially upgrading this guy with Bolster Discipline as well. It makes a really strong, very strong unit. So.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for my Infernus. Got my box ordered this morning. Having them jumping out of a rhino, shooting people, and then overwatching them, and because if you put them in the right spot, you could jump out, flame them, overwatch them, and that's before they even get a chance to shoot or do anything to you.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So definitely Infernus squad's going to be real strong. We know Sternguard's anti-infantry. I guess we'll go over these later.
Well, especially as the Infernus, yeah.
Another
I think
one
they call it Battle Shock, right?
they cause what?
Battle Shock, I think, the Infernus Marines, the Flamer guys. I mean, we can see that when they get
Right.
their data sheet, but
When they hit when.
But I think they did from.
So another one here is the Phobos. So these guys, these librarians also have a good gun. So in addition to being really good at support, they have a psychic gun. So it's basically Smite. Smite became a psychic typed gun. So on so the way that smite works now, you're gonna do ranged weapon shooting phase, range 24, d6 attacks, hits on the three, strength 5 -1, and d3 damage. There's also a stronger version, like a focused version, which is one strength and one AP stronger, and sixes to wound it's gonna be devastating wounds as well. So you've got that option. It also becomes hazardous. So
Yeah.
basically, they just have another gun thrown in, which is actually stronger. It's stronger than average. So these guys are good in terms of their support and their shooting. Um,
I know if they put the
so the
damage,
Phobos,
the fact that the damage stays the same on both of them, I'm like, I don't know how much it's worth risking hurting him if you're not getting any extra damage most of the time, unless that strength 6 is really a swing point for the shot.
correct? Yeah, it's really a question if you have to kill something. I think you take the risk, um, because I believe that works. The way it works is a character will take, if you fail the hazardous, you'll take three.
Yeah, I'll
On a
take three
vehicle or a
mortals.
character,
Yep,
I think you take three mortals.
yep. Which,
Yeah,
which
so
leaves him
hazardous
at
is,
one.
is very right. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of risk involved with
Yep,
shooting the hazardous, um, but we don't know for sure. I haven't really checked if those hazardous wounds can be allocated to the unit. I'm not
they
I'm not
can't.
totally
No,
sure on
that
that.
they go to him.
They can't. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. So there's a good combo here with the Phobos guy. So the Phobos guy the Phobos librarian, he only attaches to the Phobos units. So infiltrators, eliminators, reavers, and eliminators. The This is particularly good because he has a shrouding ability. So shrouding psychic. Well, this model is leading a unit. Models in that unit have the stealth ability, which is if they're shot at, they're -1 to hit.
Yep.
And then this is where it gets spicy. So that unit cannot be targeted by range attacks unless the attacking model is within 12 inches. So this basically makes their whole unit, the shrouding makes them a lone operative.
Yep.
Um, so it's kind of like an old character protection rule for a whole unit. So you could have this guy hanging out with your small eliminator squad if you want to have some like snipers that can't be shot back. Pretty
Yep.
nice. Um, but more importantly, you could actually have this on your incursor squad, and we'll get to this later. But having maybe 5 or 10 incursors with this guy, I think that's something that can see inclusion in almost every Space Marine army, just because of what incursors do now. Like they basically have a marker light ability built
Oh,
into them. So
that's I haven't seen any of them, so I'm
so
not
we'll
sure
get to
what they do yet. So I'm interested to see that.
yep.
All
Well,
right.
let's go. Yeah, let's go into chaplains now.
All right. Let's go down to the chaplains. All right. And so they got the litanies. So it looks like they litany of hate's going to be their generic one for all chaplains, and then they'll get a separate rule going along with that for each one. So they just give a generic +1 to wound in combat to their whole unit.
Yep. Yeah, so they're specifically going to be your combat guys.
Yeah.
Unfortunately they don't really do much for shooting units. Even though they can attach to shooting units, the chaplains are probably a little bit more limited. Um, but I mean they're decent at fighting. And +1 to wound it's +1 to wound in combat only. It's always going to be relevant if you got your blade guard, your terminators, um, especially if you're fighting. It's maybe a little bit this ability is maybe a little bit weaker than I expected. The reason is because let's say that the game's grinding down and you're sending your Space Marines into combat. It's almost certain that you'll have your Oath of Moment running against that target that you need to charge.
Oh
Just
yeah.
because usually when these Space Marine armies, such as your Imperial Fist, your Iron Hands, or whatever, if they close to combat, they have to decisively attack you, so they don't lose the combat, because you can really only do that combat once. Like it's only really going to happen once. Um, and this +1 to wound in combat, I mean, this is cumulative. This is cumulative, like buffing with the rerolls to wound,
Yep.
but it's not. This ability is not better than reroll to wound, which you already have army wide, or you already have it where you need it. So
No,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know if this guy. I don't
but you
like.
could
I
potentially.
don't know if they necessarily are that great.
Yeah, Yeah, but yeah, you can put that on a comic and potentially send them something that's not your oath of the moment target if you have other stuff to deal with it, and that little bit would help. But I think his spiritual leader rule, on at least on the Primaris one here, letting you take a battle shocked unit and make them not be battle shocked is stronger than the actual +1 to wound.
Yeah, they have a once per battle auto, basically a once per battle. What is it? Insane bravery.
Yeah, and it can be at the start of any phase. So you
So yeah,
say you're
so yeah,
playing NIDS or something, they pop that army wide one. You could just, you can't do it at the end of the command phase, so you wouldn't be able to still score those objectives at the end of your command phase because you wouldn't be able to pop this till the start of the movement phase. But it might help you be able to score some of those secondaries that battle shocked units can't score.
yeah. This is good. I mean, because they that ability definitely like reflects their ability to inspire your army.
Yep.
That's what the Primaris one has. The Terminator one, of course, he only joins Terminators, but he has a he gives your unit 4 up field opinion against mortals.
All right.
So he basically turns your Terminator unit into Custodes, like Emperor's Chosen. So that's definitely a strong sort of ability.
Oh yeah, because there are a lot of
And if
devastating
you
wounds
consider
and stuff out there.
yeah, yeah, there's going to be because this is every mortal, so it's all the devastating wounds and
Yep.
um, any other abilities. So
Cool.
pretty strong. Um, the bike chaplain's pretty interesting as we go down the list here.
Yeah.
So they changed how this guy works a lot because now he's a leader and he can attach to your bike squad or your outrider squad.
Yep.
Well, he has the same litany of hate plus on to win in combat ability. So you're not really going to put him on a bike squad because bike squad is more of a shooty guy, right?
Yep.
But if you have him on that outrider squad, the way outrider squads work now is it's 3 to 6 models, so 6 outriders, and you can add an ATV into that unit as well.
Oh wow.
So you have this big 7 model unit adding your chaplain on, and his ability is it's called the Catechism of Fire. So this used to be a litany, but they've kind of just condensed this into an automatic ability.
Yep.
The way this works is each time this model's unit is selected to shoot, select one enemy unit within 12 invisible until the end of the phase. Ranged weapons equipped by models in this unit have devastating wounds against that target.
That's nice.
So yeah, so if you look at the sort of like ranged output that's coming out of this big squad, because this is basically the best case scenario. They've got twin linked, their twin bolt rifles on these outrider bikes are twin linked, so it's 2 shots each, and twin linked is reroll wounds. So it's pretty nice. You've got if you look at all the shots coming out with those twin bolt rifles, it's
Yeah.
14 shots hitting on 3s, rerolling all wounds built in, and then devastating wounds. So you can really fish for 6s and have these bolters do quite a bit of damage.
Well, yeah,
And then this is all happening before they charge too.
yeah, and then you put like the Gatling gun instead of the Melto on the top of the ATV if you want, and put even more shots out.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I think maybe that Gatling gun might have devastating wounds already. I'm not sure. They've given a lot of assault cannons dev wounds, but it's just
Gotcha.
nice to have it's nice to have outriders like kind of back in the saddle, I guess.
Oh yeah, I got a bunch of bikes sitting up on my shelf. I'm excited. I might be able to put an all bike list together.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
so he can just join bikes and outriders. And then the generic chaplain. Oh, he has the same rules as the Primaris chaplain.
Yep. Yeah, he's exactly the same. They kind of copy pasted some of this.
So I still have the jump pack chaplain. I like that because I got an old one painted up.
Yep.
Oh, every time his unit fights, they can possibly do mortals. All right, that's cute. It's not game changing, but it's helpful.
Yeah, he's definitely good with I think Vanguard vets was
Yep.
the one.
Yeah, yeah. With him being the jump pack, that's probably the unit you want to add him to. All right, then we got now we got some tech marines. Unless you have anything else on the chaplains, or
Nope. I think that's it. Um, so basically, Primaris Tech Marine and the regular Tech Marine, um, they only buff vehicles, which is basically what was expected.
yeah,
Profile wise, they're basically the same as before. Um, they've in general, they've reduced the wounds that these characters have. So a lot of them, like captains, have 5 wounds on average now, and a lot of these other characters are all 4 wounds. So like your chaplain, your librarian, your tech marine. Um, the typical wounds for a character now for Space Marines at least is 4 wounds. So I expect that it's definitely a downgrade. You know, you're losing maybe 25% of your hit points or something.
Yeah.
Um, so I would assume that based on like the wounds, they might have lowered the points on characters a little bit. Why they'd want to lower wounds. Um,
Unless they're just
so
figuring.
as far as what Tech Marines really,
Yep. I was saying unless they're
uh,
just figuring they're
yeah,
going to be in units, so they already have extra ablative wounds anyway.
that's right, that's right, yeah. So it's a little bit weird for these Tech Marines because the Tech Marine can join a squad. So it joins assault intercessors, servitors, or intercessors. Um, so it can join a generic squad, but unfortunately, it doesn't really give anything to infantry units. So I don't know, by joining a squad, all it gains is some sort of protection. But
Yeah.
I don't really see any good rules interaction here because you have all these characters that can really buff your squads up to the nines, whereas Tech Marines are really only going to buff your vehicles, right? So it's I don't know if there's really a decent rules interaction here. And as far as what the Tech Marine actually does, you still got your Blessing of the Omnissiah, and they added another ability which makes them fight better. Um, so I mean, they're reasonably good at fighting. So the Blessing of the Omnissiah is the same as before. It does a repair and it adds +1 to hit for the vehicle. So it's D3 restore D3 wounds. I mean it's fine if you've got your repulsor, executioner, your land raider, or whatever.
Yep.
It's probably fine. You could have this guy hanging out with a bunch of servitors, and I believe he gives a servitor unit +1 to hit, which is reasonable because the servitors have a bunch of heavy weapons.
Yep.
So you could definitely, as good as dreadnoughts are and stuff. I think this guy can definitely see some inclusion in vehicle heavy armies. Um, the Vengeance of the Omnissiah ability is interesting. That's the generic Tech Marine rule is if a Space Marine vehicle dies within 12 of him, until the end of the battle, he gets a +3 attack characteristic. So his attacks on his axe goes up to 7.
Yeah. That's pretty
Um,
strong.
and I mean his axe kind of slaps because this guy's basically Terminator armor. He's a 2-up save,
Yep.
7 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. So I mean this guy, the power axe still hits pretty hard, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't really hit at a level that will kill vehicles. So it doesn't. You would expect that this guy might be, he's a vehicle support guy, and he might be good at killing vehicles. He doesn't really accommodate that as well as we hope, I think.
Yeah, I
So
guess him and his unit would be
maybe
more
maybe
like
leaves a little something.
he'd just be back protecting the vehicles from getting tied up by stuff. Hopefully, like someone tries to run and tie the vehicle up or
Yeah,
something, prevent it from moving. I mean, you can shoot out now with vehicles, but someone tries to move block the vehicles or something, you just heroic him in with a unit and just clear the little stuff like that. But yeah, I don't. It's not. It's very situational.
yeah. There's Tech Marines are a little bit of a miss, but I think they still might see some play in niche armies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they give the +1 to hit too, so you can heal a
Hmm.
vehicle and give it +1 to hit. So if you got a really shooty vehicle, you just put him next to it if he's cheap enough, just for the +1 to hit.
Yep, yep. Plus, they're not required to lead a unit or anything. So
No,
if they
say
if
if
they
you
hang
just
out near vehicles, they won't be targetable.
yeah within 3 inches they gain the lone operative, so that's fine. You don't even have to buy them a unit. All right, then here's your
Yeah, so
servitors.
they're very very similar to previously. Oh yeah, sir. Servitors, I guess,
Yeah, +1 ballistic
not super
weapon
interesting. We
skill
don't really
with a
know the
tech
points on.
marine. Yeah, that's you don't see that much. Then we got
Yep,
intercessors. They
yep.
give you sticky objectives. That's the coolest things I've seen about them. Other than that, their guns and stats are pretty generic. What you'd expect. Nothing like shocking or standing out there. But that sticky objective's real nice. You probably want to bring probably one squad of these guys at least. A lot of times.
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, Sticky. We don't really know the points on these because I suspect that these guys might be cheaper because this is like they're OC2, right? So this is like your intercessors and assault intercessors, your generic battle lines.
Yep.
Um, and then these are the ones. These are the only. This is the only unit that gives you sticky objectives. So I don't imagine you want to play a lot of these, but I think having five is definitely relevant.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
All right, and then now we got the Infernus squad.
yeah, go ahead.
So they just got their Pyre Blaster, which is ignore cover torrent, 12 inches, D6 shots, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. It's okay, pretty sure. Just the fact that it auto hits is nice. But then the Purge the Foe is the cool thing. In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, you can select one enemy infantry unit hit by one or more of those attacks made with a Pyre Blaster. That enemy unit must take a Battle Shock test. So you could just make somebody, and this is only in your shooting phase. You can't do it if like you're overwatching, but you hop out, pop that on something, and they fail their Battle Shock. All of a sudden, they're not controlling an objective, and you may or may not have to charge other stuff in there. That might just take care of them having hold more or whatever at the end of a turn. I guess it would go away by the opponent's command phase, but it would help you if they have more
It would go away,
bombs.
yeah, but it would help you with your end of turn scoring, which I think is going to be secondaries.
Yep.
Um,
And if you're going to charge them or something, it could possibly they wouldn't be able to overwatch with that unit if it fails the battle shock because they couldn't use the strat on them.
right, like it would for the rest of the turn. I mean, it would prevent them from using all stratagems on that unit, so
Yep.
they'd be a lot more vulnerable.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be spots where that's
Um,
very useful.
that's a trend I think that we've kind of seen so far is a lot of these stratagems like they because the stratagems in general have trended up in power. A lot of them are defensive. Like the defensive stratagems have a really big impact on the game now. So
Absolutely.
any of
Yes.
these things that just say, oh, like I'm attacking you, I pick your unit, and then you're going to roll battle shock on my turn instead of yours.
Yeah.
It has that really aggressive, like impactful sort of attack. It's like an attack. So these guys are definitely they're attackers, not defenders. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think a lot of what they were saying is their original intent and what they were trying to do this edition again is make stratagems for the most part be more reactions, not just
Mm-hmm.
pre-buffing your stuff before you go in. A lot more reaction stuff, I think.
Yeah. So they've done a pretty good job with those guys.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I'll go over some of these quickly. Like
Yep.
assault
Absolutely.
intercessors. Basically exactly what you expect. They're still AP1, which is good. They've got 4 attacks with their chain swords. They're battle line OC2. Their thing is in combat they always reroll ones, and then if the enemy unit is touching an objective marker, you can just reroll wounds. So definitely not bad.
Yeah, good for clearing out
Better
other people's little
better than
units.
what. Yeah, so their built-in ability is better than the Blood Angels chapter ability. So yeah, these guys are definitely good.
But
We also see
you take them in
I
Blood
played
Angels, they get this and the Blood Angel ability.
right. So yeah, you'd be five attack, strength 5. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. You could potentially get down to like wounding. Or no, it's reroll wounds. So maybe wounding on 3s and then rerolling wounds. So
Yeah.
definitely good amount of output coming out of these guys. Pretty reasonable. I'll just skip down.
They got Librarian with Jump Pack again.
Yeah, I don't know why I think they put them in the wrong spot.
Lieutenant with
There,
Combi Weapon. Yeah, so yeah, that.
there's a cool data sheet here. Lieutenant with combi weapon is he's not a leader. This is the only character that we see in here that is not a leader. So he's just a base lone operative and infiltrator. So it's kind of weird because this guy's basically a specialty Phobos captain that hates Tyranids because he has an anti-Tyranids 4-up combat blade.
Was this guy in
This guy does have.
Was this guy in the box that just came out?
He's in the box. He's in the box. Yeah.
All right.
So he has stealth. He's an infiltrator. He's basically a Phobos lieutenant, but he's different than the regular Phobos lieutenant, which is a little confusing. I would have liked if they gave this guy a different name because it's just kind of hard to figure out what he does.
Yeah.
But he's got a 5-up feel no pain built in. He's got 4 wounds. He's got a weird aura ability. So at the start of the game, at the start of the battle round, you pick an objective, and then for the whole game, as long as this guy's alive, that's the priority objective. And then it's an aura, so basically Space Marines within 6 of this model of this lieutenant will reroll ones if if the enemy's touching the objective. So it's I don't know how good this really is. This is really
Yeah.
oddly specific, and there's a lot of conditions on this, so it doesn't really seem that good. Um,
No.
and then his other ability is kind of a feint move. So once per turn, when enemy model moves within 9, this guy can make a normal move, so he can bump 6 inches away and then not get charged.
Yeah.
Honestly, between he's got a combi weapon and a combat blade, I don't really think this guy's very good. He seems pretty. I don't know. We don't know what the points are, but this guy doesn't hit very hard. His support ability has a lot of conditions.
Yeah.
And,
If he's
I don't know.
cheap
He's
enough,
probably kind of a miss.
well, if he's cheap enough and you're taking fixed objectives and you take like behind enemy lines or something, you just infiltrate him over there. He's not doing much. Like, how much do they want to just go kill him when he's not really killing anything and doing anything? Like, he either forces them to send something out of the way to deal with them, or he'll just sit over there and help you score like behind enemy lines or something. So if you're building a list like with that in mind specifically, you bring him. But yeah, unless you're doing that specifically, I don't. Yeah, probably bring him at all.
Yeah. He does have the lone operative keyword though, which I believe that just means he can't be shot. He can't be shot if they're not within 12.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. So that is nice that he can't really be shot, but
That's what I'm saying. So you pop him over there.
once
They
he-
have to send something
yeah.
over to either charge him or get
Yeah.
close enough to shoot him.
Yep, yep.
And then we got heavy intercessors. One is I like to model on this unit. So basically, if they're on an objective and they get hit with damage 1, they add 1 to their save. Cool. And then now we're
Yeah,
getting
it's all his dust.
yeah. All right, then we're getting infiltrators, omni scrambles. This is still have the can't set up within 12 of them. That's nice. The helix gauntlet's now just a 6-up. Feel no pain. Oh, and you can if you target them with a strat on a 5-up, you gain a CP. All right, so
Yep.
no,
Yep. So these guys are basically the same as before. They still
Yeah.
infiltrate.
yeah, they're fine. We'll see their points, but yeah, they're not nothing outstanding. They just do what they've always done. Here's the incursors. You said you love them. You want to give me a rundown on what's so good about them?
Yeah. So this is a unit that you'll probably see at least 5 of these in every single Space Marine army. The reason for this is because they no longer infiltrate. So they scout move 6 inches, which is the scout word is now a pregame move.
Yep.
However, this ability that they have is just ridiculous. So it's called multi-spectrum array. In your shooting phase, after they have shot, select one enemy unit that was hit by 1 or more attacks made by this unit. So it's any of their bolt carbines or their bolt pistol. Until the end of the phase, each time a Space Marine unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit that you selected, add 1 to the hit roll. So this is basically a marker light, and all you have to do is just hit one of your bolter shots against that target. So as long as you can you might roll 10 Oculus bolt carbine shots, as long as you can hit 1 attack, plus 1 to hit everything
Nice.
for the whole phase.
Yeah.
So
That's very useful. Especially they got like a big chunky Terminator squad or something. You put Oath of the Moment and then give them +1 to hit. So now most of your stuff's hitting on 2s, re-rolling. Like that really just ups the efficiency of everything.
yeah, it does. And I was really surprised to see this because when you consider the benefit of hitting on 2s versus hitting on 3s, it's a really big buff. And then this is an army-wide buff. So of course, per unit of incursors, you can only get +1 against one thing.
Yep.
But how many things do you think will be visible? It's like if you think you can kill 2 things, then you would maybe take 2 incursor squads. But in general, as a Space Marine player, like you're gonna kill at least one thing. So you'd always take at least 1 incursor squad. These guys also combo because these guys are such a damage increaser. Like they're a combo creator.
Yep.
I would assume that your incursor squad is going to have a Phobos Librarian, because the Phobos Librarian is going to give these guys can't shoot them unless they're within 12. So
Yes.
that means they can sit back at 24. Shoot their bolters. Probably not do any damage, but then they just throw out marker lights like the multi-spectrum array is just doing work every turn.
That's cool. And
So
they're only
definitely not a
OC.
damage dealer unit, but this is
Yeah, and let's notice them and the infiltrators
yeah,
both. They're down to OC1 though, so they're not, and they're not battle line. So they're not basically what the new troop is. They lost that a little bit. So they're not quite as good as
right.
holding objectives and stuff as they used to be, but that is a really nice ability.
Yeah, and these guys are definitely this ability is probably the best support ability. This is right up there with that captain rights of battle ability. So
Oh yeah,
this is S tier as far as support abilities. And then we also see, like, as we get down the list, like, there's a bunch of good support abilities on the land speeder models as well. So these guys combo whatever they're doing combos really nicely with the land speeders. So
all right.
uh,
Oh, and now we just got the generic tactical squad. They can shoot and charge in the turn if they fell back. They have that built in. All right, that's cool. That's and they still get OC2, so that's really the only interesting thing I really see on them.
mhm.
So yeah, so
Yeah, they're basically your battle line with lots of special weapons.
yeah, yeah, they definitely have more options than the intercessors and stuff. All right, and then just the regular scouts. Uh, they have infiltrate and scouts. And then at the end of your opponent's turn, if this unit is more than 6 inches away from all enemy models, you can put it into strategic reserve. All right, that's cool. I'm sure people will come up with some interesting little plays with that, but they're only OC1. They only have a 4-up save, so we'll see if
And
people
the
actually
the
put
way I
them in
see
or not.
this is, yeah, these scouts are like, they kind of split it into it used to be all one squad, like the snipers and the scouts, and they split it into two different squads now. Um, so I would assume that your regular scout squad is more. These are more of the guys that are going to kind of go back and grab the objectives. So these are more of like your sacrificial scouts.
Yep.
Of course, you can give them shotguns, combat knives, and like thunder hammers and stuff like that. These guys might be a little bit cheaper. The thing that changed with these guys is they went up to 2 wounds. So scouts are now they're all just 2 wounds, which is pretty nice.
Yes.
Um, but the next one is the scout sniper. So the scout sniper is basically 4 sniper rifles and 1 missile launcher. There's no other war gear options. So this is like your long range. You got your scout sniper, heavy precision at
Oh,
36 inches,
you don't even
and
need
then
to
your
add.
missile launcher.
You don't even need to add the phobos to them. They already have the can't be targeted with, unless they're within 12.
Correct. Yeah. So the scout sniper has, yeah, just like you said, concealed positions. So these guys are crazy. I think that these guys have a place in every Space Marine list. Plus, I love the old models. Like the Space Marine sniper models are probably 15 years old or more, but just great looking models.
Oh
They
yeah,
went up to 2 wounds, and they can no longer be shot. Basically, these guys are getting the best out of everything. Um,
yeah. I got
and I
15
think,
of these guys and probably 15 of the regular scouts sitting up on my shelf that probably haven't been played since like 7th edition.
yeah, I just ordered some scout snipers yesterday. Actually, I'm extremely excited about scout snipers.
Yeah, I actually think
This is just
I think I got an
really
unbuilt
really strong.
box sitting on my shelf. I got so many unbuilt boxes.
Yeah,
I've just been at swap meets and stuff, just grabbing unbuilt boxes, of Marines and Wolves.
yeah,
Because I'm like, oh well, next edition this might be good. So anytime I found something cheap, I just grabbed it, and it's all been sitting on my shelf waiting for it to be good.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. If you could also consider that. So these guys have infiltrators keyword, so you can live your best sniper life. Because I mean, if you can deploy 5 or 10 of these guys on top of a building,
Oh
you
yeah.
can infiltrate, scout deploy them, and then shooting heavy. So scout sniper rifles hit on 3. Heavy is if you're stationary, they hit
Yep.
on 2s.
Yep.
Of course, these are Space Marines, so they can benefit from the reroll hits and wounds from the Oath of Moment, and then they have precision. So you can allocate, their profile is Strength 4 -2, 2 damage. So basically, if two of these sniper rifle shots go through, like, you're picking up characters. Like, you'll kill a librarian, you'll kill
Yep.
a chaplain,
And
whatever.
precision, you can just always pick a character, right? It doesn't have to be on a critical hit.
Right. It means
That's
you
what I
can
thought.
like once you successfully wound, you can pick who it allocates to.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So
And we'll
super
say
super strong unit. Really
if
really good.
scouts are cheap enough with the way the tactical objectives and stuff are now, that might be worth running a couple squads of scouts again. Like I haven't seen people do that in years. They used to be troops, so they used to be you'd take them instead of tactical marines back in the day, and then once they lost troop and became elite,
Mhm.
I haven't really seen them on the table in years. I'll have to blow the dust off of mine.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Definitely scouts are looking good.
All right,
Um,
cool. Then we got the company's champion. Anything cool on him?
this guy he hits good. He's basically a he's like a discount. He's like a discount captain.
Oh, he gives +1 advance to charge, and you can use heroic intervention for 0 CP, even if it's already been used.
Yeah. Yeah. So this guy he's definitely good with assault intercessors. He's decent with blade guard. I don't know if he's really better than the other options. He's just kind of I would say he's just a cheap version of a captain basically. Maybe if you already have a captain or you don't have points, I think he's fine though. Plus the model, he's a really cool model. So
Yeah, I mean, he has precision on his melee weapon. It can reroll against characters. I mean, cool if you end up in that situation, but
yeah,
I don't think you'll get to do that.
it's
So
cool. Yeah, it's cool that he's a character killer.
yeah. All right, now we're getting into the apothecaries.
Mhm.
All right, so while this model is leading a unit, your command phase you can return one destroyed model to that unit, excluding characters. When this model's bodyguard unit is destroyed, roll a d6 on 2 plus you gain a CP. Alright, so he can just bring models back to units, and if you kill his unit, you most of the time will get a CP. Alright, seems fine. Seems useful.
Yeah, and
If
I like I like him. I mean, we don't know the points. The good thing is that resurrection ability it happens in the command phase. So
yeah.
I don't know exactly, but it seems to be that this could happen before you score your primary,
Well, yeah,
which is nice.
primary scores at end of command phase, so it definitely happens before.
Right, right. So that's a big improvement over before. Well, I wouldn't say it's a big improvement, but it's different because
Yeah.
having it used to be that you would resurrect at the end of movement, so you could get extra. You could kind of get extra charge distance. You can sort of still do that if
Yeah,
you
because
do
you
it
just raise
correctly,
them up at
but
the front of the unit, yeah. But now, yeah, you could take an objective back
right, right.
before it scores. Ah, once again, he can't join Blade Guard. I would have loved to have been bringing Blade Guard back.
Right. So and then this guy he's one of the first he's the first character in this list that we've seen that has that attachment clause. So
Yep.
basically what that means is he's allowed to attach in addition to a captain, chapter master, or lieutenant. So
Well,
he's
that's
like
cool.
he's like a second string character.
Yep.
He's a second string leader rather.
Well, that's cool.
So definitely good.
Oh, and this is the Biolo. This is the one from the
Uh,
box.
yeah. So this guy, honestly, he's a good model, but he's a weird inclusion for that box because he only attaches to Gravis, and there's no Gravis in the box.
Oh, I
So
know.
he doesn't really he doesn't really do a whole lot in the context of the Leviathan box. But if you like this guy's basically going to be included if you like your aggressors, eradicators, or your heavy intercessors. And you know, we haven't seen eradicators yet, but eradicators are ridiculous.
Are they?
Eradicators are one of the strongest data sheets in this whole packet. Yep.
Well, that's good. Yeah, he's just handing
Yep.
out lethal hits.
So this guy's exactly. So the because Meltas are only strength 9 now. So basically the objective power of Meltas has scaled down compared to
Yep.
the toughness of vehicles going up. So this guy making your Meltas auto wound is really good, especially when you consider the other abilities that Eradicators have.
Yeah. And then, and if you do get to kill someone melee, all of a sudden he's objective control 9. That's useful. I mean, if he's with these shooting units, I don't
Yeah,
know how often that'll happen, but if it does, cool.
and I think they scaled up the OC value on Gravis models a little bit. Like they want Gravis models, I think, to be more like decisive.
Yeah.
Because I mean this guy's base OC3, which seems kind of high for I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how they balanced it. I think we have to see the points.
Yeah. All right, and then we got the ancient. Add one to the objective role characteristics of models in that unit. That's nice. While he's within range of objective markers or 6 inches of the center of the battlefield, he has a feel no or a 4-up feel no pain. So not his unit, just him.
Yeah, it's not the unit, and unfortunately, this guy he doesn't seem that good. This is one of the second. He's the second string
Yeah,
leaders. I don't know. I he doesn't really stand out to me, but
no.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
It's just same thing with this
if
next
the
guy.
unbreakable
Oh
duty was the unit instead of just him, I'd bring him most of the time. But since it's only on him, it's not
yeah,
that great.
yeah. Unfortunately, all these ancients aren't that good. They don't really seem to be that great. The Blade Guard Ancient has that. They all have that banner. The banner ability is +1 OC for the unit. The Blade Guard one only attaches to Blade Guard, and he can attach in addition to a captain, so that's nice.
Yeah, and his
He's got a
heroism.
once per.
Yeah, and it affects everybody, so he can
Yeah.
give +1 attack to the whole unit. So if you got a 6-man unit with a character and him, that's +8 attacks. That's not horrible.
Yeah, and if you consider like so +1 attack on everything is kind of like a 25% damage increase if you
Hmm.
consider that you're gonna buff him up and maybe have full rerolls from Oath of Moment. So I guess it's maybe around a 20% damage increase. So this guy is actually good considering you can have a big beefy buffed up Blade Guard unit, and then when you actually send it, you could jump it out of the Land Raider, send him in, and then they actually have a reasonable OC value as well. So Blade Guard Ancient is probably a win.
Yeah, we'll see what his points are, but yeah, absolutely. If he's pointed appropriately, that's definitely something I'd consider taking.
Mhm.
And then we have the Terminator Ancient. Oh, you can add one to the hit roll if the unit is below starting strength, and one to the wound roll as well if below starting strengths. And
Yeah,
that's his
not
unit.
so good.
No, like the ones where they get bonuses for targeting units that are below strength and stuff are good, but this just means you have less models to benefit from it as the stuff starts going off.
Mhm. Yeah, probably not a
Yeah,
whole lot to say about that guy.
no. Here's the Blade Guard
Uh,
veteran. Alright, so at the start of the fight phase, you can select one of the following abilities to apply to models this unit until the end of the phase. Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. Each time an invulnerable saving throw is made for models in this unit, reroll a saving throw of 1. And they have a 4-up invul. Alright, that's alright. A lot of times when you send them in, they're probably going to be oathed anyway, so you're re-rolling all your hits,
mhm.
and re-rolling a third of your failed invuls isn't bad.
Yeah, I definitely like these guys. They kept their 4-up invuln. Their weapon is basically the exact same profile it is now. So it's 4 attacks, weapon skill 3, strength 5, -2, 2 damage. So it lost an AP, but basically everything did.
Yep.
Um, these guys are reasonably good. They still have wounding issues, and I think that Games Workshop's probably going to price these guys pretty aggressively, because they have the 4-up invuln built in, but they didn't. Their damage is the same. It hasn't scaled up at all.
Yep.
And then their toughness value and their wounds and everything and their OC value and everything, that none of that has scaled up either. And technically, because their storm shield doesn't give them a +1 save characteristic anymore, they're really going to be rolling their 4-ups almost all the time. So the only thing I don't like about these guys is that Blade Guard ability only applies in the fight phase. So it's every fight phase that it happens, but like if they start getting shot, you're really just gonna be rolling 4s with no rerolls or no extra protection. So
True.
maybe it leaves a little bit something to be desired, but that this is also like the premier Space Marine combat unit in terms of like the attacks and the damage output and everything.
Well, yeah, this is your for
So
unless you're going after vehicles. This is your infantry killing Space Marine unit.
yeah, and if you consider these guys advancing and charging, as well as like jumping out of a Land Raider or an Impulsor
Yep.
and charging, I think it gets a lot like the context of them, of what they can do gets a lot stronger in terms of like them riding in vehicles now. So I think that's going to be I think that's something that'll see a lot of play is putting them in vehicles.
Yeah, I mean that's with all of this, you got to take it into consideration with what characters and buffs and vehicles. Like, yeah, none of these units are in a vacuum.
Yep, and there is the reason I like these guys so much. I'm real excited about Blade Guard, and there's a character that we're going to see down below called the Judicar, which just makes these guys insane. So we'll
Good.
get into
I
that.
loved them in last edition. I got two sitting on my shelf right now, painted up and ready. So then we got a
Yeah,
command
Judicar
squad.
is awesome.
Uh, so well, this unit contains an apothecary. All right, Astartes banner. All right, so this basically get a bunch picked buffs from some of the other characters, and just basically got a looks like an ancient, a champion, and an apothecary. Oh, here it's an apothecary, an
Yeah,
ancient, a champion, and then it's two veterans. Uh,
yeah. So it's a fixed squad size of 5. I don't really see this is kind of like a squad of characters that doesn't have the character keyword, but I don't know. It's a little bit weird. I don't know. I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish with this.
well, because I haven't seen any characters that can join them. If like this was the command squad being that accompanied a character or something, I could see it. Like they're his bodyguard unit or something, but I haven't seen any of the characters able to join this unit. So I don't know.
They they can't firstborn like the firstborn captain, firstborn guys can join them.
Oh, so yeah, we skipped over some of them. All right, so the firstborn stuff can join them, which most people aren't going to be taking a
Right,
lot
right,
of the
yeah, because they're
firstborn. So
yeah. This is kind of a relic. This unit's kind of a relic. I don't know if a lot of people will play this.
yeah, that's was my thought as well. All right, then we got the Vanguard vets. We have a scout move now.
Yep. Yeah, these are the foot Vanguard vets. So they split all these profiles into foot and jump packs with a
Oh,
different
okay,
data sheet.
okay,
So
that's why it's so long.
yeah, but these are yep. So these guys have lethal hits and scout 6. So I don't know, probably not so great. But
No, that's right. Yeah, because they don't have a lot of good They just have a heirloom weapon. Only one damn. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's not much impressive about the foot Vanguard vets to me. Just glancing at it.
unfortunately they did do Vanguard vets dirty. Both versions of them because they made all their weapons called heirloom weapon now. So there's no more there's no more lightning claws, no more thunder hammers. They made it all heirloom weapon, and unfortunately, the profile on the heirloom weapon is strength 5, AP 1 damage. So they definitely see a little bit of a trend down in power. But Space Marines with jump packs, they're always going to be good regardless of how hard they hit. So
Yeah, just but I got 20 of them sitting on my shelf. When I charge in with a Thunder Hammer model and do one damage, I'm gonna be sad.
yeah, yeah, it definitely feels bad. I don't know why they removed all their weapon options. It seems I don't know. I guess these guys are paying. They're finally paying for their sins or something.
Yeah, yeah, because they were one of the best units in the last edition.
I
All
think
right,
they're still playable, but they're just not fantastic.
yeah, let's just scroll past it, and that makes me sad. Um,
Yeah, sorry.
so we got
It
the
makes me
Stern
sad
Guard.
too. I just built 10 of them, but hey, we could say they're assault marines now.
Yeah, all right, so now we got Stern Guard.
Oh yeah.
All right, so once per battle in your shooting phase, after you shot, one or more enemy units were destroyed as a result of attacks. You can shoot again. All right, so once per battle, you can double shoot with them. That's not bad. Their weapons have devastating wounds and stuff. So I mean, for what I saw in like the battle reports and stuff from the starter box, Stern Guard are gonna be fairly useful.
Yeah, these are certainly good. I mean, they all have a lot of heavy infantry. They all have devastating wounds on all their weapons. Um, I think if you give them the bolt rifles, there's a pretty decent combo because if they all had like all 10 of them had bolt rifles, for example, the keywords on that is assault, devastating wounds, heavy, and rapid fire. So rapid fire 1. So that means you could advance them and then shoot at half range would be 3 shots per guy,
Yep.
and then they hit on 3, strength 4, -1 damage. But if you start adding in some of these characters, you could get your lethal hits. You already have devastating wounds. So
Yep.
these guys, they're anti-infantry and they deal mortals. So I wouldn't say that these guys have a fantastic damage output, but they're just consistently good at killing infantry. They're infantry that specializes in killing other infantry. It might be a little bit of a niche that's
Yeah.
overrepresented in Space Marines. But the models look really cool, and I don't think
Yeah.
it might be these. I don't think these guys might be as good as everyone's saying, but they still do what they're designed to do, I guess.
But yeah, they have that combi weapon that's anti-infantry 4 up. So If you're in Oath of the Moment up, once you get all your hits, although it only hits on fours though. Oh, and they don't have heavy on that.
Right,
But
right,
it's
yeah.
still you reroll your hits. But once you do get your hits in, you can reroll fishing for fours against infantry because fours are mortals.
Hmm. Yeah, so these guys are they have a good. The way they tried to make them good, I guess, is to give them mortal wound output because
Yeah,
they just basically pasted the devastating wounds keyword on all four of their weapon types.
yeah,
So kind of interesting. I think we're going to see these guys at around 25 points per model. They're basically elites. They're
yeah,
Space Marine, elites.
yeah. They're useful. They're nice. Like they're not like game breaking. Depending on their points value, if they're pointed appropriately, they're. I think you could bring them, but I don't think you have to bring them. They're not like an auto include
Now,
depending unless they're like super cheap, then maybe. But if they're pointed appropriately, it's like if you bring it, I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. And if you don't bring it, I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
these are a good example of a well balanced unit. Like I think that everything about these guys is well balanced.
Yep.
But then you've got some of the other units like the Eradicators. I think are a little bit too pushed.
We'll see if points wise they affect that too. All right,
Yep,
here's
yep.
our boy, the Judicar.
Oh yeah. So this guy is probably one of my favorites. Yeah, he's probably like one of my top three favorites.
Now, go ahead, run us through them.
All right, so four wounds, 3 up save, 4 up invuln in combat, just like he has now. Um, he's got the Executioner Relic Blade, 5 attacks, hits on twos, Strength 7 -2, 2 damage. So pretty good for an infantry weapon. It also has devastating wounds and precision.
That's really
So
nice.
so devastating wounds in combination with precision is certainly really strong. He hits better and stronger than kind of like what we had with the Primaris champion. So this
Mm-hmm.
guy's like kind of like a super champion. Um, but the real reason you take this guy, he's a leader. He can attach to 5 different units. The most important one is going to be your Blade Guard veterans. So he hooks up with your Blade Guard veterans. He gives them fight first.
Yeah,
So fight last is gone. Fight first replaces it, and fight first lets you fight first even if they get charged on your opponent's turn.
yep,
So basically, your Blade Guard, this guy hanging out with your Blade Guard, just absurd. And that's really all that he does. He has another ability that it's like he can get +1 attack characteristic, but that'll probably never happen. But
yeah. If he kills a character, yeah, he gets +1 to himself. Yeah, if you can pull that off, great. But yeah, just him making that whole
yeah,
unit
so
fight first is really nice.
yeah, and I think that fight first is probably so strong that you could see multiple. You could see because this guy hits like he hits really hard. He has a pistol.
Yeah,
He has a 4 up invuln. I think you could see multiple of these guys ran in one Space Marine list, especially if you're talking about your Dark Angels, your Blood Angels, um, stuff like that. Any army that like if you want to have Blade Guard, you have this guy with them
yeah.
basically.
Well, I got 2 of them on my shelf, and one of them has a custom wolf head to go in with my wolves. So
Yeah, Space Wolves too. Yeah,
yeah,
I love Blade Guard, so naturally this guy is a huge win.
absolutely. Yep. So yep, definitely. I like the Judicar. Hopefully he's cheap enough to be worth bringing. Then we got the Reavers. Uh, they can, at the end of the fight phase, each enemy unit with engagement range, or the start of the fight phase, one of them using this ability must take a battle shock test. Actually, just handing out free battle shocks, that's never bad. While enemy units within 6 inches of this unit, each time it takes a battle shock or leadership, subtract. Oh, so he makes you take a check, and you're -1.
And
That's
-1,
nice.
yeah.
Oh, then the grapnel launcher still just ignores everything. They just move their distance, and then they have deep strike. All right, that's nice. Like they don't
Yeah, so
turn.
it's kind of like they fly but not over enemies.
Right.
Oh, yeah, and they have deep strike and scout. Kind of interesting.
Yep. Oh, do they have scout too? Yeah, they do. Scout 6 inches. All right. All right. Useful. Like Reavers have always been a niche unit. Maybe they'll get actually some play. Oh, here's the aggressors. All right. Each time a modelless unit makes
Yep,
a
yep.
ranged attack that targets the closest eligible target, improve the armor penetration character attack by 1. I always hate the stuff that makes you target the closest unit.
Yeah, when you consider that these guys are such short range, though, it's probably okay.
Yeah, maybe. But I was like, man, because you just make sure, like if I was the opponent, just make sure I throw something useless in front, make them shoot that first. But other than that, they got their bolt
Yeah,
gauntlets and flame gauntlets and power fists. They're pretty.
they definitely lost the volume of attacks here because you're only getting there are only 3 attacks per model now,
Oh,
or
so
sorry, 3 attacks.
yeah, all the bolt
Oh,
storm gauntlets. Yeah, so
oh yeah, because it's plural. It's not like it's gauntlets. Like gauntlets represents both of their hands.
yeah, so
So
yeah, yeah. So instead of getting six
unfortunately,
shots, they get
the
three
bolt
and
storm.
reroll the wound.
Yeah, so it's only 3 per model, and then the flame storm is only d6 + 1 per model,
Yeah, they're more of a combat
and then
unit now, in my opinion.
yeah, they're strength 8 is. I mean, strength 8 they're pretty reasonably good in combat. It's nice that they have twin linked in all their weapons too. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know, they're okay.
yeah.
I
We'll
think
see
they're.
what their
I mean,
points
they're
are,
just
but
like always. They're a little bit slow.
yep,
They they bumped up all these. These are Gravis guys, so they're fine. They bumped up all their toughness to 6 on the Gravis
yep,
stuff, so they're still 3 up save, 3 wounds.
yeah. This is something you'd probably strategic reserve try to bring in on a flank instead of just trying to walk it up the board if you brought it.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got Terminator Assault Squad. They get the teleport homer, which basically lets them at E, but they have to be near the teleport homer. And if they charge somebody, the enemy has to take a battle shock. Thunderhammer's lightning claws. Not
And
much else.
I'm not sure about these guys yet because it's exactly what I expected. I like that they have that shock that battle shock thing where they force them to battle
Yeah.
shock, but we don't know how these guys point out with War Gear or anything compared to Blade Guard,
Right. We'll see what
and
the
so
points are.
I'm probably a
Yeah.
little bit more I'm more preferential towards Blade Guard, I think.
Well, we'll see. They do different roles. Like if you bring the Hammer Squad, Strength 8, Neg 2, 2 damage, so you're wounded a little better, and then you have 4 wounds with a 4 up invul. Like I could see a place for both, because. But yeah, the fact that the Hammer's only 2 damage instead of 3, so they do the same damage as the Blade Guard, they just get better strength,
Yeah,
isn't that impressive. But this does have devastating though, which isn't horrible. Then what else we got?
yeah, Devastating's definitely nice.
Then we got regular Terminators, same teleport homer, and then
Yeah, I
they just
think
get
we
what
saw
the
those already.
plus what a hit against both of the moment your target. So that's solid. Um, Relic Terminators, they have Fury of the First, which looks like it's the same thing. Plus what a hit against both of the moment target. Uh,
Basically, same thing as
yeah, as I
now.
say, I don't see anything yet else real special about them. Centurions. Oh, if they're targeting a monster vehicle fortification, they get sustained hits 2 on their melee weapons. That's not bad. I mean, they still only move
Yeah,
4 inches, though.
yeah, so that's good. I mean, so Centurions they're up to T7 now. I think
Yep.
a lot of what they have is basically the same, but they're pretty interesting. I mean, they've got a lot of weapons loaded up into them.
Yep.
They can still ride in some transports too, I think, which is cool.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, they take up like 3 or 4 slots, though, so you can only get so many in there. But yeah, same problem they've always had. If you can get them there, they hit like a truck, but you have to have a plan to get them there.
yep. Yeah,
But
so I'm not too sure about those guys. They've always been kind of over pointed, I think.
yeah, they were real good in what was it, 7th edition, when you could like deep strike them in and get +1 to charge or +2 to charge from like the White Scars and Raven Guards. You'd run and when you could combine chapters, you'd drop a Raven Guard squad in and a White Scar squad in, and they both just charge off the deep strike, and they would just crush stuff. But that's the last time I really saw them in bulk. And then we got the Devastator ones. I used to make a ranged attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If the target's near objective, reroll all hits. Alright, that's fine. And then they got all their heavy weapons. They were just way too expensive last edition.
Yeah, there's something. I'll point out something that these guys have, which is the grab cannon. So there's a theme. So Space Marines have grab weapons. So you got your grab pistol and your grab cannon. I think because they got rid of the heavier version of it. But grab is interesting because it has anti-vehicle 2 up. So every single grav, including pistols, have anti-vehicle 2 up. So there's all sorts of options for giving. Like as we go through this list, there's kind of grabs sprinkled in a lot of places, but anti-vehicle 2 up is really interesting because you've got your, especially against knights, because you've got your big knights are T12, and then you've got like heavy vehicles and some bigger stuff, like even the monolith is like
Mm-hmm.
T14. So if you're talking about stuff that's when you get to the range of like T13 and up, you're at the level where like nothing that you have is really going to wound it on fours unless you start using special abilities or +1 to wound abilities.
Yep.
So not being able to wound big stuff on like fours or better is a tough place to be. So Grav has a special niche of just always wounding on twos regardless of the vehicle toughness. So it's definitely a strong ability. Um, as far as the Grav cannon itself, it's BS3 strength 6 -1 3 damage. So it's only like kind of reasonable, but there's also ways to like make it stronger. So I think grab overall is definitely a win, and you could see maybe potentially these guys running with grab or devastators or something like that with
Yeah,
grab.
if they're pointed appropriately, I could definitely see bringing them in because that's what their goal is with this edition is to force you to bring. All right, I need something to kill big stuff. I need something to kill little stuff. But then the downside is you bring them and you run into Tyranids and none of their monsters are vehicle.
Right, correct, yeah. So like and demons and Tyranids,
Yeah.
no, yeah, there's not going to be any vehicles at all. So,
No. I like the ones that are like
but the,
anti-vehicle and monster, like so they just are a big thing killer. But like the fact
well,
that they're
this is
they're
yeah, this is another reason why the Eradicators are so good is because the Eradicator's ability it just covers everything. So you've got your vehicles and your monsters, like it's all going to die.
oh good. I got two 4-man squads sitting up on my shelf. All right, so let's roll down
Yeah, I need to buy some of those.
the Invictor. I always thought these were cool. I had one, played it a couple times. It wasn't real good, so I got rid of it. But like the look and the thought of it, I really, really like.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and it just scouts now. It doesn't
Um,
infiltrate.
right. So that he's got the Invictor has a combat support ability.
Yeah,
We've got the Invictor at T8, so he's not super tough. He's a little, he's less tough than a Rhino. The combat support ability is basically a shoot back, but it specifically keys off of Phobos infantry. So that they have this guy is a Phobos. He's a Phobos guy inside of a mech suit,
yeah.
and then they have him supporting Phobos infantry. Um, this I don't know how good this actually is. This combat support ability is they gave it to all the bikes and the ATVs, and a lot of the basically mounted units have this.
Mm.
They want bikes to be like have a reactionary shooting built into them, like attack bikes have it, and so on.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's interesting. This guy really isn't very durable. He's got a 3 up save, 12 wounds is fine. I think the thing on this guy that really stands out is he's got, for some reason, his fist hits harder than all of the Redemptor chassis. It's a higher strength. So this guy, his fist is strength 14, and the Redemptor is the same profile, but he's only strength 12,
Huh.
which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The only other I don't know if this is a typo, but the only other combat weapon that matches strength 14 in this entire book is Gilliman's strike. Like his strong strike is 14. Everything else is at a 12 or lower.
But maybe
So
they're
maybe
trying
they
to.
want this guy in combat, but I just
Yeah, maybe they're trying to give you a reason to
yeah.
bring him instead of a Redemptor. You know.
It could be, yeah. Because I mean, +2 strength is relevant because if you're trying to crack a big vehicle, it's fours versus threes, so
Yeah.
maybe relevant.
Or even if you're swinging it like we were looking at something a minute ago that was T7, he'd be wounding it on twos instead of threes.
Yeah, for sure. There's a good amount of T7 in the game now
Yeah.
too. There's a lot of 6 and 7, so
Oh, here's the generic Dreadnought.
yeah. So that this guy is exactly what you'd expect, but they gave him that aura ability.
Alright, so he just gives the reroll hits of one just all the time. Alright, that's nice. And on that, he's just pretty much the same thing he's been for 10 editions.
Yep. Yeah. So nothing insane, but they just made him they gave him the old captain rule.
That's nice, yeah. You used to be able to pay a CP to do it, now he just does it. Then we got the Contemptor. First time this is models for destroy move from play without resolving its daily demise ability. Then at the end of the phase, roll 1d6. On a 2-up, set this model back up to the battlefield. Alright, so Contemptor can stand back up.
Yeah, he comes back with D6 wounds when he dies. Um, I guess a cool. Let's see here. All these dreadnoughts, there's a bunch of them. They're OC3, so like they're not great, but they're okay on objectives.
Yeah.
Um, Having this guy come back at the end of phase is fine, but I'm just worried that he's like too slow because all these dreadnoughts only move 6 inches, and I think
Yeah.
it might leave a little bit to be desired. Um,
But they
there
will
is
also benefit from the doctrine, so you can advance and shoot them, advance and charge them, so that might help a
oh
little
yeah,
bit.
so something really good they did with dreadnoughts here. I suspect that a lot of people are going to be playing their dreadnoughts, more so the Redemptor chassis because the Redemptor now has 3 different variants. But across the board, what they did with dreadnoughts is they made them all a 2-up armor save, which is significantly better than 3, and they made them so they can benefit from cover now.
Yep.
So if you consider like dreadnoughts, there's a lot of different ways where you can position your dreadnought or set it up where it's getting an effective 1-up save. That's huge compared to where it's at now. It's always stuck at a 3-up with no cover. So it's if you consider all these dreadnoughts are getting a +2 to their armor save value in this edition, dreadnoughts are definitely in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I'm glad to see. We'll hopefully see some dreadnoughts on the table. Then the Ironclad. He gets T10 rerolls against vehicles and fortifications. It's pretty much all I see really special about him.
Yeah, nothing too special, I guess.
Yeah. Then here's the Redemptor. So we got just the generic Redemptor. Subtract 1 from damage characteristics of that attack. Alright, so from the way it's worded, and I was watching one of the battle reports where the Tyranid player had this, and one of the guys that supposedly is in the know said it's intended to be that 1 damage weapons are reduced to 0 against this.
I I don't know.
So we'll see when the
it's
commentary and stuff
yeah,
comes
we don't
out
know
if
yet. We
that's
don't know yet.
true. But if that is,
Yeah,
that
we gotta wait
is
till
really
Friday.
that makes the Redemptor really strong because there's a lot of 1 damage shooting weapons that just you can't whittle him down with. But yeah, we'll find out on the
Well,
16th.
that's true, but
Hopefully.
when you think about it in terms of durability, because like the Redemptor, he's a 2-up base, and then he could get cover, right? So he could be a 1-up
Yep.
effectively, and then a lot of the damage 1 weapons, most damage 1 weapons are designed to kill infantry anyway. So let's say they wound him on a 6, and then he would
Yeah.
roll maybe a 2-up or a 3-up save against it anyway. So it's like with that level of durability he already has built in, does he need to make weapons damage characteristic 0? I don't think that he does personally. I think it maybe seems a little bit unintended, but we'll find out next week.
Yeah, but yeah, from the guy I heard talking, he was saying that they just are tired of the days of like 100 lasgun shots killing dreadnoughts and stuff. Like lasgun shouldn't even scrape his paint. Like, and be able to hurt them with stuff like that. And that's the way it was in previous editions. Like, if you couldn't, like, there was stuff you couldn't hurt. Like, lasguns couldn't hurt. Like, they have brought a lot of other things back from previous editions, so I'm interested to see if this is. Because they said they wrote this way in so many spots, and none of them have the minimum 1. And they
Yeah,
wrote this rule so many times last edition that it's hard to believe. They were saying it's hard to believe, and from what he's heard, it was intended that none of them had that included in the rule.
you might be right. From where we've seen this so far, this is the only this is the only model in this entire packet that has this rule. So
Right,
it's
and
only
it's
the
not
base Redemptor
something
that has
that's
this.
widespread on
And,
everything. It's not all dreadnoughts. Only one of the Tyranid
no,
monsters has it, so it's not like something has it on all their stuff. So
yeah,
you just have to, these certain models, you'll have to.
and we saw a Death Guard stratagem too, and it basically the Death Guard used to have it army wide, right?
Hmm.
The only place we've seen it in Death Guard now is they have a 2 CP stratagem in the fight phase, reduced damage by 1. So,
Yeah.
but it's 2 CP. I mean, 2 CP is the most expensive strat in the game now. So
But if 2 CP
So
For
yeah,
letting you
it could.
completely ignore damage one altogether, that might be worth two
Mhm.
CP.
It could be. Yeah, it just depends on what weapons they actually have.
Yep. Well, they wouldn't even
Or
be able to. They
it
wouldn't even be able to
counters
target you with certain units. Like, oh, you have bolters, cool. You can't even shoot me. You're not going to do anything.
it counters the way I view this. It's like there's a rock paper scissors going on, and it counters lethal hits because
Yep.
lethal hits it doesn't matter if they auto wound if they're damage zero. So
Yep. Well, so yeah, I think they think they don't want people taking just skewed lists one way. You need to. I need something to deal with infantry. I need something to deal with big stuff. Like they want you to build more tactically versatile lists. I believe, and the missions. Like a lot of the missions play the same, but there's a couple that skew real hard one way or the other. That if you just build into one type, you're going to do horrible in those missions.
yeah, the this Redemptor data sheet is actually really interesting because his the way that his weapons scale now, like he has a bunch of he has maybe four different weapons, so he's got
Yep.
a little bit of gun for everybody, but also his plasma incinerator caps out at strength 9, and strength 9 is not necessarily a vehicle killer profile anymore.
No, it's
Like
like
if he shoots a rhino, he wounds a rhino on 4s now,
yep,
so he's definitely scaled down in power. But his fist is strength 12, right? So it's a great vehicle killer, but
yep,
it's also scaled down in power because it's no longer D3 plus 3 damage. They scaled it way down just to 3 damage.
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know. This guy, he seems he's extremely tough, and his killing power has gone down in terms of combat.
But
So,
that's what they were
but
saying
he's
they
and
wanted.
his guns are good at killing infantry.
They wanted vehicles and stuff. They wanted stuff to
Mhm.
be more survivable and lethality to go down, so games weren't over by turn 2 or 3 when someone alpha struck you hard. Like
Right,
you were
right,
able to
yeah,
survive it, and keep playing 40k for 5 turns.
right, yeah. And I think this guy, there's a particularly good combo here. Like if you've got your incursors, making this guy because this guy's BS3 across the board, right? So if you got your incursors making this guy hit on 2s,
Yep.
um, stomping him around. You don't even need. This is kind of the reason why the Tech Marine's not so good. Is you don't even need a Tech Marine because you're gonna hit on 2s with your incursors anyway.
True.
Because it's yeah, so yeah. So Redemptor seems like on the stronger side,
Yep.
even compared to these other dreadnoughts.
Yep. And then we got the Brutalis, who he just does mortals on the charge. He doesn't get to reduce the damage. He's just, I mean, he got
No,
some little shots, but
but
he basically gonna run up there and punch you in the face.
yeah. So he's twin linked. His big thing is he's twin linked everything.
Oh yeah, and he does have one multi-melta.
Yep. Yeah, twin link multi melted, pretty good.
All right,
I
and
like
then
him. He looks cool. Definitely like a
it
blood,
definitely
probably
looks
Blood
cool. Yeah.
Angels guy.
Well, yeah, and they have so many different options now. You could definitely run a full dread list. 2,000 points of nothing but dreads if you wanted to.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then we got the new Ballistus. So he seems alright. We'll see what his points are, but he seems alright. You got your 2 las cannon shots, and then you get 2 missile shots, and then some stormbolter shots. But and if you
Yeah,
shoot,
he's got reroll hits built in, which is pretty nice.
well against a unit that is not below half strength, so that's nice. So
Yep, yep.
the more models in the unit, I like that better than reroll against below half strength. So now the units that are still full strength, you're doing extra damage against. All right.
Mhm.
Seems like dreadnoughts
Yeah, and
look.
I think this guy works pretty good with. I was gonna say he works good with Storm of Fire, because if you go in Devastator and then you Storm of Fire, you bump up his AP and his last cannons can do some pretty good work.
Oh yeah, AP4 las cannon, and it's AP neg one extra AP on all this stuff. So I mean AP3 crack missile. So he could definitely put something
Yep.
big down.
Yeah, and Storm of Fire, yeah, it ignores cover and plus 1 AP maybe.
Especially you shoot
So
him with shoot the incursors over there first, so he's hitting on 2s.
yeah, we need to see how this guy's pointed compared to the Land Raider, because
Yep.
that Land Raider still has 4 last cannon shots with the same profile.
And
So
you can put stuff inside it.
Yeah, if everyone's just gonna take Blade Guard and Storm of Fire that Land Raider, I think the Land Raider will see more play over this Dreadnought. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, because the Land Raiders traditionally around like 250 points. Dreadnought probably like 170 to 180 ish normally. So
Yeah, we don't know yet, but the
that's it. We won't know
I mean,
until
yeah,
they come out. But if it's that
yeah,
much of a point difference, then there is. Oh, I can't fit the Land Raider in the list, so let me bring this Ballistus.
hmm
All right, and then we got just generic assault squad.
yeah,
Uh,
kind of boring.
yeah, just then a regular, then the jump pack assault squad have Hammer of Wrath. Uh, yes, all the stuff's pretty generic.
Yeah, nothing
Outriders.
special really.
I see.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I like that.
Outriders.
They are OC2 and they can join the ATV. So I really like that. I got 3 ATVs and 6 Outriders sitting on my shelf.
Yeah, it's cool because now you can have this big Outrider squad, and it has this. I think it has that shoot back ability,
Let's
or it
see.
has Oh, so the Outriders themselves don't have it, but that the ATV has the Outrider escort, so it can basically shoot back against like whatever shot you.
Ah, so
And
each
then
time.
if you added in that chaplain, it would be eight model unit. So
Yeah,
a nice big unit.
and so they only moved 12 now. I think they moved 14 last edition.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then you add still just add 6 for their advance. So that's fine. And then yeah, so I don't see anything other special rules with them, but that's solid. We'll see what their points are, but that's definitely something that could be. And then here's the Invader. It's once per turn in your opponent's shooting phase, when a friendly Death Star's mounted unit within 6 inches of this model is selected as the target of an attack, this model can use this ability. If it does, after the man is finished making its attacks, you can shoot. Alright, so it's not his unit, it's just him. Alright, so yeah, so you attach the ATV to that unit. I'm assuming this rule comes with him, and he just gets to shoot
Mm.
his.
Yeah, and this ability is called Outrider Escort, which is basically a shoot back. It's like a conditional shoot back within 6 inches. Um, you have to shoot. They have to be within range, and you have to shoot back at the. So basically, none of this works if they're far away. Like if you're getting blasted from 30 inches away, nothing's going to happen. But it, the way this is worded is interesting because you could take, for example, you could take 3 attack bikes, and then you could take 3 ATVs, right? So like individual units.
Mm-hmm.
And what could happen is that you could make a little blob, and if someone rolls up on you and shoots one of those models, it doesn't matter if they kill it or not, because after they shoot that one model, the other 5 are going to shoot back. So because basically there's no sort of like TNCs on how many times you can trigger this on individual units. So
Oh
it's kind
wow.
of a weird it's a weird sort of interaction, and I guess I wouldn't say it's overly powerful because you're just going to kill whatever shot you, but so they're just not going to do it. But I
Yeah.
guess it's more of a deterrent. Um,
Yeah. All right, and
so
then
pretty cool.
yeah, and then bikes same. They get the 6 inch auto advance, and then all the same weaponry they can take now.
Yep. And but yeah, bikes are still T5 with the same save. I guess they lost 2 movement. I guess
But
is
the
there
object, yep. But the objective control tool on all the bikes is nice. So they're equal to most people's battle line.
right? Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of the bikes. I typically like fast units more if they're in combat though, rather than shooting. But we'll see what happens because I mean these guys can still take a Thunderhammer or whatever. So
All right. So then, what's next? Scout bikes. They have a scout move of 9 inches, and when it comes from strategic reserve, it can be set up in your opponent's deployment zone. All right. So I'm guessing they can
yeah,
just do that on turn 2, because I think on turn 3 you can come in the opponent's deployment zone anyway. So this lets them do this on turn 2.
yeah. So probably it depending on how cheap these guys are. It seems like they'll be pretty cheap, but they what is it? You could take a unit of 3 scout bikers. So if they're pointed correctly, you could see 3 scout bikers being played on missions a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I'm sure everything in here can probably be taken. So that's one nice thing is we'll probably see all sorts of different versions of lists. Then yeah, attack bikes have the outrider escort thing and all their normal weapons. Nothing else interesting there.
Yeah,
Suppressors. Oh, go ahead.
these guys, there's a little bit of a nerf on the attack bikes for sure because they melted like every multi melta is now 18-inch range, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and strength 9. They still have the melta rule, which is going to make them like D6 plus 2 at half range, but specifically like if you deep strike melta units or they come in off reserve, you won't be in half range ever now. It used to be that you were always because it was before it was
24.
12
Yeah.
was half range.
Yep.
Yeah, so but now you can never get the plus 2 damage. So meltas in general, like we're seeing meltas trend down in power a lot, unless you're talking about eradicators. So
All right. Well, you are talking about eradicators, and I'm sure we'll get to them here soon because I'm interested to see.
yeah,
All right. So then we got the suppressors. After this unit has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Till starting next saves, while the that unit is suppressed. Basically, you can give a unit -1 to hit.
yep,
Alright, so they still got good range, 48 inches. I got 2 squads of these, but I never play them, so we'll see if they get any play in this edition.
yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think these guys are super good.
No.
Like such a great model, but they I don't know they somehow always just kind of fizzle out.
Alright, then we got the Inceptors. So they definitely lost a lot of shots. So battlefield using a deep strike ability, meteoritic descents. Well, 3 inches. Oh, so they can drop within 3 inches of stuff, but they can't charge. So that's a useful
Yeah.
rule. But they definitely don't have nearly as many shots as they used to.
Yeah, a big problem with these guys is they went from they used to be 2d3 shots per model, and now they're
Yep.
just flat 2 on the plasma.
Yep.
They reroll wounds now, which is nice, but they didn't really get anything else.
Nope.
And then the reason that you might not see these guys is because there's no characters that can attach to them.
Nope.
So that's kind of a miss, I think.
Yeah, if they're super cheap, which they weren't at the end of the edition, but if they with this reduction of their shots drop their points a lot, I mean, that's not a you drop 3 or 4 of these guys in within 3 inches of something, shoot something off an objective real quick, something little off an objective, but they have to be pointed really low.
Mhm.
Then we got start
Yeah.
rolling into the storm speeders.
Yeah, so all of these speeders, you've got the storm speeders and all the land speeder variants. I think honestly that all these are good. Like pretty much everyone is a hit. Um, so what they did with these storm speeders is they gave them each a special ability. So you've got your hail strike, your thunder strike, and your hammer strike. They weren't very creative, so they named their ability exactly what the name of the model is.
All right.
So basically the hail strike is the cheap one. That's the anti-infantry one. So you've got your frag storm, your onslaught Gatling cannon, and your heavy stubber. Unfortunately, all these weapons are AP 0, so nothing too crazy. However, you take these really because these are basically a flying rhino. They move 14, they're T9, they're 11 wounds, and they're OC 3 with a 3-up save. So
Gotcha.
essentially, this is a flying rhino.
Except you can't. Can you put people in it or no?
No, it's not a transport though. It just attacks.
Gotcha.
So this thing maybe putting out it's like 11 plus D6 shots anti-infantry. The real reason to take this is because of this ability. So I believe basically this is hail strike. Each time this model is shot, select the enemy unit that was hit by one or more attacks made by the model this phase. Until the end of the phase, when a Space Marine unit makes a ranged attack against that unit, improve the armor pen by 1.
Right.
So this works again on your whole army. So this anti-infantry guy, this is a little bit weird because you want to shoot anti-infantry weapons like this guy into things that are easy to kill, like infantry, right? So you generally wouldn't need extra AP against them.
Yep.
So it's a little weird that they gave this guy this ability. But regardless, even if you shoot this into like something that's T12 or T14 and nothing happens, having this guy go first and giving your whole army AP1 against it, like a monolith or something, would be real big.
Yeah. But you don't have to shoot all your weapons at the same target. So you could just shoot like your little.
Oh yeah, like the stubber or something.
Yeah, and get the -1, and then shoot him into like some gaunts or something.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. So all these have good like stacking abilities. One of them, so this guy's BS3, so that's the hail strike. The next one is thunder strike.
Right.
This is the crazy one. So because this guy, he's still BS2 like he was in the last edition. This is the one with the Storm Fury missiles and the Thunderstrike Las Talon. So basically, hitting on twos, you've got Strength 12 and Strength 9. They're all AP -3, and they're all D6 +1. So it's three really nice anti-tank shots.
Yep.
This is a similar to what you have on the Ballast Dreadnought or Ballastaris Dreadnought, except you just always hit on twos and you don't reroll the hits. So his ability is Thunderstrike. After he shot, select a vehicle monster that was hit by one or more attacks made by this model. Till the end of the phase, Space Marines get +1 to wound against that target.
That's really nice.
So yeah, +1 to wound. I mean, crazy.
Yeah,
And this combos perfectly because if you're trying to take down knights, if you're trying to take down big stuff, maybe you're shooting a land raider, maybe you're shooting a monolith, maybe you're shooting I don't know, a mega, what's it called, gargantuan squigoth or whatever.
yeah.
+1 to wound. It combos. It's a perfect combo, basically. Perfect combination.
What does it say? From what it looks like, you could be like, oh, my army's really good at infantry. You just slot one or two of these in. Now you got a little help against big
Yeah.
stuff. Or if, the rest of my army's good at killing big stuff, you slot, one of the ones in that lets you do a little more against infantry. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
especially if you have guns that are in the range of like maybe 6 or 7. We haven't seen a ton of them, but going from a 5 to a 4 is helpful. So
Right.
uh, the last one is the Thunderstrike. So this is kind of like
The hammer strike.
it's oh yeah, Hammer Strike. Yeah. So Hammer Strikes, it's not as good as the other one. It has like a little Melta built in on the front, which is unfortunately only range. It has like the triple Melta on the front, which is its big thing. Unfortunately, it's only range 18 now. So this guy, I think that unfortunately this guy's gonna have to put himself like danger close, like at risk of getting charged to like really go off.
Yep.
And then his ability is same as before, but that enemy model will lose the benefit of cover. So
That could be useful.
probably a little bit redundant because we
Yep.
already have like cover from Bolter Discipline and Storm of Fire.
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends on
So
how you build
the
your
big
list.
the
Yeah.
big the big winner here is going to be Thunderstrike. Thunderstrike just +1 to wound and amazing hits on twos, amazing weapons. I could see Thunderstrike going into every single list. Super super good.
Yep. All right. So then we got the generic lance speeder. So he has at the start of your shooting phase, select one enemy unit that is visible to this model until the end of the phase. Each time a friendly adept of the starting model makes an attack with a blast weapon that targets that unit, add one to the hit roll, and the attack ignores cover. Alright, so he doesn't even have to shoot somebody. He just picks somebody and gives +1 to hit to blast weapons and ignore cover.
Yeah, and I love this ability actually. It's only +1 for I think blast weapons,
Yep.
but there's what we found out is that there's an insane blast weapon which is the Eradicator, or not the Eradicators, the Desolation Squad.
Yep.
So this guy basically gives the Desolation Squad a stacking +1 to hit, like without having to roll any dice. And this guy's also like this cheap land speeder, like currently at 60 points. It'll probably still be 60 points. And just ideal, super fast, reasonably hard to kill. Has a gun, and then he buffs your Desolation Squad or your Redemptor or something like that. Buffing blast weapons is good because Space
Yep.
Marines have good blast weapons, right? So definitely this guy's a win.
Alright, and then we got land speeder tornado. He can just
He's
do
got a
mortal
cool
wounds
ability.
to stuff he moves over. So just
Yeah, it's
picks
cool. He could do up to 6.
up to 6, average, probably gonna average about 3. All right, that's
Yep.
not nothing. I mean, you don't take him specifically for that, but if he's doing other stuff, that helps.
Yep.
And he's got decent amount of shooting. Is this one that can take? No, this isn't the one that can take models.
That's the heavy. It's the heavy bolter assault cannon one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that's the Typhoon, the one with the crack missile launcher. He's okay, but they gave him Land Speeder Typhoon has a shoot and then move d6 after he shoots.
Ah.
So this guy can fire. He basically has a d6 fire and fade, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Why is
So
it decent? You roll that one, you're really not doing much, but
yeah, it's weird. Well, technically, you could have him positioned in a way where like he's behind a ruin, and you only need that if you're only poking out like a quarter of an
oh, that's
inch. You
true.
would only need, yeah, This is a little bit janky. This is like kind of like they gave this guy like an Eldari ability.
And he's got
Um,
48 inches and 36 inches. So as long as you don't take the multi-melta, you got good range to pull this off with.
Correct, yeah. And the crack missiles at 48 they're reasonably good.
Oh yeah.
And they're gonna benefit from a lot of your army wide abilities. Having played Deathwing a lot, like I'm a big land speeder and like crack missile fan and stuff like that. So I think that these guys are gonna be big for Ravenwing and Dark Angels. So
All right. Oh, then we got the Hellblasters.
yeah, this is getting spicy now.
All right. Go ahead.
Did you read this already?
No, I'm just looking at it now.
Okay, so this is one of the silliest abilities. This is called Hellblasters have an ability called For the Chapter. So Hellblasters are exactly what you'd expect. They're a standard marine profile, OC1. They have a plasma incinerator. They only have one weapon type now, so they don't have like specialty plasma.
All right.
The plasma's, two shots. It's assault heavy, strength 7 -2 1 damage. They overcharge strength 8 -3 2 damage, right?
Yeah.
Assault hazard is heavy. So it's basically exactly what you'd expect. Well, they just had to, spice up and make it crazy because they wrote this ability, and I think that they're going to have to FAQ this because the way this is worded is just kind of outrageous. So it says each time a model in this unit is destroyed, roll a d6 on a 3-up. On a 3-up, it shoots on death. So it shoots on death, after the enemy finishes shooting. So this can trigger in any phase,
Yeah.
but still, the unit still, in order for them to shoot anyway, they still have to be eligible to shoot.
Yeah, so you can't do it in
these,
combat.
right? So like well, actually they can, but so like if these guys, because they have pistols, so
Oh, they could shoot with the pistol, just not their big gun.
yeah. So these guys have bolt pistol standard, and then they have a plasma pistol upgrade, like per model. So technically, if these guys get charged by like Corn Berserkers, they all die on a 3-up, per model, they can shoot back with plasma pistols, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like this has a weird interaction with hazardous. So if you
Yeah.
supercharge your guns and you start killing your own models, it says right here under the designer's note that the ability triggers even if they kill themselves. So what that means is that they're allowed to shoot twice if they kill themselves, which doesn't really make any sense. Because these guys are supposed to be like super elite space marines, so like why would you ever want to kill yourself? Like it's just, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this, and I also don't think that these guys are very good. So
Well, yeah,
I
but
just think it's janky.
that's it. Yeah, but they're like basically what they're saying is they're so dedicated that even when they're dying, they'll take off one last shot. So, but if their weapon,
Well, they get
well, if
two
their weapon
shots,
blew up, what are they shooting with?
That's what I mean. It doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's called For the Chapter, so it doesn't like this ability doesn't even reference like their plasma weapons. It's just like that. It's them like being dedicated to shooting things or something.
Yeah.
It's really weird because this is the only thing like this that we've seen in the whole rules book here, and it's like it's just worded in a really silly way. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what their thought is behind this.
I mean, obviously they thought about it because they specifically wrote it in there. So, all right, that'll be interesting. All right, then we got the old eliminators.
It's a spicy one.
Yeah. So eliminators in your shooting phase, retain the eliminator sergeant with the carbine. You can make a normal move. They've always had that. Remain stationary. Ranged weapons have devastating wounds. All right. So your snipers, if they're stationary, can also do it devastating with their precision. All right, that's solid. Depending on their points, this could be a useful unit to take, but nothing jumping out to me as like super amazing.
Yeah, these guys are they're limited in their number of shots. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because it looks like they just have one shot now. They don't have like the 3 different versions they had before. Because used to be they had 3 types of rounds to pick from. Now they just have a generic round.
Yeah, and also I don't know how these guys like points compare well with scout snipers because if you look at these guys sniper rifle versus the scout sniper, the only thing that these guys get extra is +1 strength and +1 damage, but it's only a 3 model unit versus a 5 to 10 model unit.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's even worth it, because you have to consider a lot of characters have 4 wounds. So like maybe the 2 damage is better than 3 damage, in terms of like how many points they cost. So we're not really sure.
Yep. Well, we'll see. All right, now we're getting down to another unit you were happy about. Why don't you tell me about these eradicators?
All right, so Eradicators used to shoot twice. They don't do that anymore. Their big thing is they still have their 18-inch Melta. You've got your Melta rifles, and your multi Meltas.
Hmm.
Uh, of course, these guys are in Gravis armor, so they scaled up to T6, which is pretty nice. Um, the Meltas are basically what you'd expect. You know, they're both profiles, strength 9 -4 D6 damage. Melta 2, which is the same rule as before, but at 9 inches instead of 12. Heavy, which is it's probably never going to happen, but it's if they stand still, they get +1 to hit. But the reason you take these it's called total obliteration. So each time they make a range attack, um, if it targets a vehicle or monster, they reroll hit rolls, wound rolls, and damage rolls. And this is complete, and that's it. So it's completely unconditional. It's whenever they shoot a vehicle or monster. It doesn't matter if it's Overwatch, whatever.
Yeah.
Out of reserve. There's no conditions at all. They just reroll everything.
Yeah. So they don't have oath of the
So
moment. They have oath of all the time.
correct. So these guys, this is insane, and this is like it's not cumulative with oath of moment, but it just means that they don't need oath of moment. So these
Right.
guys are like they're dedicated, anti-monster, anti-vehicle specialists.
Right. They're like, you guys deal with
And
that, and we'll deal with this.
right, and like I think that I didn't do the math on this or anything, but if you take three of these guys, it's 4 shots, and then if you take 6 of these guys, it's up to eight shots, I think. Yeah, it's 4 shots or 8 shots because they can have up to 6 models.
Yep.
Where it starts to get spicy is all these stacking buffs you give them. So there's a guy down at the bottom called Torgaradon, which makes these guys crazy. And then you can also throw the new Apothecary on these guys to give them lethal hits, which is 6's auto wound. So that's that's really good as well. So yeah, these guys are just wild.
What up, Lewis? Lewis in the chat.
Oh hey, what's up, man? Lewis.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to get him on for some of these videos. Alright, and then we got the old school Devastator squad. They
Yep.
so they got the Signum, which lets them ignore cover if they remain stationary. Cherub, once per battle, after making a hit roll for a mindless unit, you can change that roll to a modified 6. Oh, so he doesn't let you shoot again now. You can make 1 hit roll in auto 6.
Yep.
All right. And
Yep.
then,
So these guys seem pretty basic.
Yep.
Not much has changed really.
yeah, there's some basic white girls. But yeah, I got a bunch of missile launcher Marines sitting on my shelf from back when they used to be good. But yeah, they're pretty much their weapons are pretty much what you expect. So not too much to get into there. Desolation Squad. All right, this is another one you bring on about. Tell me about these guys.
All right, so these are stupid because once again they got improved in every single way. Their weapons are so the super crack went down in power a little bit. It's only D6 +1 damage. Strength 10 on the super crack. The Castellan launcher lost its AP, but now you have Storm of Fire, right? So
Oh yeah.
you can use Storm of Fire on these guys. You can give them. This is like the combo unit. So I'm expecting that people will play a lot of these like in a big unit with either the Apothecary or the Primaris Librarian, because unfortunately I don't know like why they decided it's okay, but these guys have Bolter Discipline, right? Like you can have them have Bolter Discipline off the character, which means that like 5s and 6s explode with all of their stuff, including the indirect. So like they explode on your turn when you shoot, and they explode on your opponent's turn when you shoot them in Overwatch. Unfortunately, like the penalty that you get for indirect, that's what their ability negates all the penalties for firing indirect.
Yep. If they remain stationary. Yep.
I'm personally not a huge fan of indirect, but like these guys are just so turned up that like if you play Space Marines, you're gonna have these guys basically. Because if they go and stand in a ruin or whatever, if they're stationary, they ignore the hit penalty and they gain ignores cover. So they basically have, if you Storm of Fire them, they have double ignores cover. But that's just kind of an inkling of like how powerful these guys really are.
Yep.
Because you have. I think there's a way to increase their, like Storm of Fire increases their AP. Um, there's ways to increase their hit and wound chance, like using the land speeder. The Castellan, the indirect Castellan is a blast weapon, so like the land speeder combos with it, and then giving them +1 to wound on the indirect because that combos with the storm speeder thunderstrike. So
Yeah.
these guys just these guys are, I'm sure they're going to be expensive. Right now I think they're 35 points per model. I'm certain that they're going to stay around 35 points per model. These are never cheap, so like they're certainly killable. They're a killable unit. They're not like unconquerable or anything, but
Yep.
they're doing everything you want. They're doing more than almost every other unit that are in this book.
All right. Well, I gotta get. I haven't got any of those yet. I gotta get me a box of those. Uh, all right. Well, they look good. Lewis says, "What's up, beautiful people?"
How's it going, man?
I know I got the Thunderfire cannon. Another thing I haven't seen really used in a couple editions.
Uh,
So
I
if
don't
anyone,
know. I don't know. It seems kind of bad.
yeah. So it still has, as it says, the built-in thing. It used to be a strat. You could subtract 2 from infantry's charge. The cannon is D6 plus 4. It's only strength 5 and 1 damage, no AP. Yeah, that doesn't seem that great. It's indirect, but it doesn't ignore any of the bonuses to indirect, so you're
Yeah,
not doing a lot with it.
I like this model a lot. Like it's kind of an old school model, but I wish that they had it keep its shot types. I thought that was cool that it had different ammunition.
Oh yeah. Well, it used to be cool when it was blast templates and people were in buildings. You used to hit every level of the building. Like, you used to do so much work with these things. Oh.
Wow.
Then we got the
Yeah.
Strike servo turrets. I have never seen one of these on the table.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. They they made this thing pretty good though.
Oh, look at this 4 up Overwatch on 4 ups.
Yeah, it's got the anti tank weapon, I think.
Uh, it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's got
it's got like
yeah, it's got good
autocannons
strength
and
and
all that.
stuff. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
only a
it
three
hits on
inch
twos.
move. Yeah, it's only a 3 inch move though.
Yeah,
So
what's funny about this is it's like a cheapo vehicle, and then it's a 2-up save, so you can like have it. Like if you wanted to, you could put this behind like a Hammerfall bunker, and it would have a 1-up save, and then Overwatch like triggers on 24. So like if anyone shows up on your backfield, you could Overwatch off this guy, and then it would just, because it's the Overwatch is a hit on 4 and reroll wounds. So it's like you could it's definitely a vehicle. It's a vehicle killer. Like this is like a vehicle sniper guy.
yeah, if they're cheap enough, you take 1 or 2, just pop them on like your back objective, just to sit there and kill anything that comes into line of sight or tries to come in behind you.
Yeah, it seems like this is something they want to sell because no one's ever bought them before.
Exactly. We'll see. All
Oh,
right.
and you could take a unit of 2 of them now. I
That's what
don't
I
know
was
if they
saying. Yeah.
list.
Yeah, I don't know
Oh
if you
wow,
could before or not. I never paid any attention to these things.
that's kind of wild.
All right, then they have the Hunter.
Yeah,
These
this
were
guy.
real popular when they first came out, but another thing I haven't really seen much of lately.
Now I think the hunter and the stalker kind of stink because they're just all anti-air stuff.
Yeah. Well, the
So yeah,
Hunter
no.
is, if it monsters and vehicles, it auto hits on 2s. It hits on unmodified hits of 2s on monsters and vehicles.
Yeah, and it auto wounds flyers on a 3-up, which is good too.
Yeah.
Or
And the strength hit next 3 d6 plus 2 damage. They're saying you got to bring some units to kill big stuff. If they're cheap enough, 1 or 2 of
I think
these would do that pretty good, especially since it's hitting monsters and vehicles on 2s.
yeah, but I think with Oath of Moment and everything, I think just have this guy having only one shot is not. I don't think it's enough because you've got your like you got your Ballistaris with like
Oh, it's
four
only one
shots.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, and he can take the hunter missile, but yeah, he just gets the. Guys, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to it being one shot. Yeah, so he'd have to be super cheesy. He's probably not the answer.
If they made him like 80 points, it would be okay. But if he's like more than like 80 or 90 points, it's not worth it.
Yeah, because you can take the hunter killer, but it's still only one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we got the stalker. Uh, just after enemy unit can fly, starts or ends a normal move or advance. Uh, when resolving that stratagem, in addition to shooting that enemy unit, you can select up to 3 additional enemy units within 20. All right, that's a lot of wording. My brain's not processing
It,
that.
this basically has like a it has like a flak. It has like an auto flak Overwatch.
Ah,
So you can shoot one thing and then you can Overwatch like three more things.
okay.
But it's only flyer. It's flyers only. So
Yeah, so yeah, once
this is
again,
like
not that good.
it's like the same. Yeah, it's the same as it is now. But it wounds flyers on twos, which is kind of cool. Um,
Yeah, so I guess you have
so
to
I don't
determine
know.
if your local meta is really flyer heavy, maybe you pop these out, but otherwise,
Yeah, this is definitely kind of a meme because I've never even seen this model before.
yeah, I've seen it like once or twice over the last like 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. Then we got the
Yeah.
old Whirlwind. After this model is shot, one or more of those attacks made with this Whirlwind eventually scored a hit against. Alright, so you can make infantry take battle shocks.
Yep. Yep.
Indirect D6 plus 3 shots, 72-inch range, strength 8, neg 2 damage. Alright, that's okay. They used to be like 120 points, and then I'd run them every once in a while. If they're around that area, it might be worth bringing one of them, sit in your backfield to take
Yeah.
some pot shots, but we'll
I'm not
see.
sure. A lot of these firstborn vehicles just aren't like they're okay, but I don't
Yeah.
think none of them really stand out as being good.
Right,
Like
like I said, it's
the
okay,
predators.
but if it's cheap enough, it might be worth just bringing one because having at least one indirect thing. Well, I guess you can bring the Desolation Marines instead.
You have desolation, yeah.
But yeah, but
Well,
go ahead.
but if we skip these predators because there's I think there's three different predators, but honestly they're just not good. Like I
They're
don't think anyone's gonna play
they're
them.
just what they
But
are
then you,
now.
but then yeah, they're the same. I mean, they gave them like a little ability, like they can conditionally sometimes reroll things, but it's so conditional that I just don't think they're good.
All right,
Um, However, what they did like turn up to 11 is those gladiator tanks,
all right.
because I think that all three of those gladiator tanks are really good. They scaled them up. Oh, so predators. Let's see. Yeah, predators are T10. That's weird. Yeah, they scaled up the toughness on some of this stuff. So like predators are T10, like shooty tanks are T10, and then
Yeah,
gladiators are T10, and they move 10, 12 wounds, 3 up save. So the lancer I think is the crazy one. So the
yeah.
the lancer is the one that has the what's it called, lancer laser destroyer. So strength 14 minus 4 d6 plus 3 damage, 2 shots.
Ooh,
So really, I think that Lancer Laser Destroyer is the best. That's essentially the best gun. The only gun that's better than that is the laser on the Repulsor Executioner.
gotcha.
So this is basically a cheaper. I don't know if it's better, but in terms of how the points seem to shape out, this is probably better than Repulsor Executioner.
Gotcha.
Just because it's cheaper. The ability that this has is each time this model is selected to shoot, you can reroll one hit roll, reroll one wound, and you can reroll one damage.
Gotcha.
So
So it's
it's all. So
and
you
not
get
or. So you get to do all three.
you get all three. Yeah, which is that's just perfect for the laser destroyer because
Oh yeah.
it moves your, if you factor in like your rerolls and your buffs and your incursors and just all these different things stacking up.
Oh
This
yeah.
thing has like 100. It has like 100% kill rate with this Lancer laser destroyer.
Yeah.
So this guy, and also this guy doesn't cost 300 points. Like he's not a repulsor executioner where like you paid an arm and a leg for this guy.
Yeah.
So I think this guy is amazing. I'm gonna build. I have one of these that I'm building right now. This Gladiator Lancer, and I'm really excited to play this guy. So it's
All right.
super super good.
All right. Then we got the Reaper. So he gets sustained hits 2 on his Gatling cannons when targeting infantry. All right, that seems solid.
Yep. Yep. So this is the bolter. This is like the bolter version.
Yep.
Specifically, he has this gets real spicy because he has that twin Gatling cannon has it's like a this is basically like a super ball predator. It has devastating wounds and twin link. So twin linked reroll just like you said. So this guy can basically spit out mortals with his Gatling, and then if you roll 6 to hit, he basically spits out even more mortals because it double explodes.
Yeah, that's
So yeah.
yeah. So with his
So yeah.
Gatling, 12 shots, you should be getting on average 4 extra hits.
Yeah, and that's even before you consider rerolls or having like +1
Right.
to hit or anything
That's
like
what I'm
that.
talking. With no buffs
Yeah.
whatsoever, you're gonna average 12 hits.
Yep.
And once you start adding in rerolls and pluses to hit, yeah, if you have Oath of the Moment and Incursors or something like that up, you're probably gonna get like 16 hits out of this thing.
Right, and so basically, on just built in on this profile, you have at least 4 mortal wounds coming out of this from the Gatling cannon, and it could be like 8. It could be like 8 or 9 if you stack a bunch of stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, and if you get a
you
lucky
know,
spike, yeah, and roll, yeah,
yeah. So yeah, this guy having a tank like this that's hard to kill and just spits out mortal wounds. I mean, I love it. I think it's pretty awesome.
yeah.
So
And
and
then we
it
got
makes me it specifically makes me excited to see the ball predator because I think they're going to give the ball predator the same treatment as this guy. So
yeah, and then we got the Valiant, who gets +1 to hit against monsters and vehicles. Oh, the closest monster or vehicle. Another one where it has to be
yeah,
closest. Why do they add that in there? That's so dumb.
I this is also the expensive one. So like they have those gladiators like tiered, and this is the most expensive one. But yeah, this guy he kind of got double nerfed because they nerfed the Melta range because he has Meltas on his sides. So I think he has 4 Melta shots. Yeah. So they nerfed his Melta range, so he has to get really close to the enemy now to be good. And then they give him that conditional closest thing. So, and he also doesn't. His weapon is weaker, and he doesn't have the super good one that's on the Lancer, even though he's more expensive. So yeah, this guy's like he's like the stepchild one.
My friend Chris, one time he wanted us to name our ATC team the Stepdads because we beat you and you hate us. We
Oh,
never did it, but
I think he told me that.
he was trying to get us to. Chris used to. This is Winans. Winans used to try to get us to do that for years. All right,
Yeah,
now we got the Vindicator. Uh, so it looks like he
yeah,
weapons wise,
surprisingly good.
yeah, D6 +3 attacks is really nice, and blast on top of it. So he should do some damage. And what's his special rule? Target's model can target enemy units within engagement range of it, providing no other friendly units are also within engagement range of the enemy unit. In addition, when making range attacks, this model does not suffer the penalties of its hits roll for being within engagement range of one or more enemy units. Alright, so it can shoot its
Yep.
blast
So he
into
can demolish her.
combat
That
and doesn't get the neg 1 to hit.
exactly. Yep.
Oh, that's nice. I got a Vindicator up on the shelf. I might have to break him
Yeah,
back out.
I think this guy's reasonably good. He also has he has the up armored Rhino profile. Like they made him he's T11 at 11 wounds.
Yep.
So he's interestingly tougher than a gladiator tank. This guy's also a 2-up save. So none of these Rhino profiles that we've been talking about, they're all 3-ups. This guy's just a 2-up.
Yeah. Well, that's because of the
So
siege shield. Like the Vindicator, like usually when they had armor facings, he was like armor 14 in the front or 13, something like that. But like on the sides and the back, he was the same as the Rhino. So he's always been a
mhm.
little extra armored, just his whole life of being in 40k.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I like this guy. They scaled up his weapon profile is really good too. I mean, it's still D6 damage that you have to live with, but like
but you're
between the
getting
random
minimum
number of
4 shots.
yeah, yeah, and he's strength 14. Strength 14 is really good. So
Yeah. And neg 3, like with AP going down, neg 3 is on par with what neg 4 used to be.
yeah, all this guy needs is like 1 or 2 buffs, and like he can definitely do a lot of damage.
Yeah, wow, it's a shame Marines don't have like a built-in auto reroll wound and hit thing.
Yep.
All right, so that my Vindicator might see some. Oh, Land Raider, here we go.
Oh yeah, so they previewed this one a lot.
Yeah,
So
assault
it's
ramp,
really really good.
amazing. I'm so happy to see that back. Like I used to run Terminators and Chaplains out of Rhinos back in 4th edition. Like
Oh man, yeah,
that's
that's back. That's definitely back. You put assault terminators in there now.
yeah, yeah. All right, and then weapons are what you expect, but yeah, that assault ramp's really the big thing there. If he's priced reasonably, I'm gonna have one on the table, jumping guys out of it. Although I have the Crusader, this is what I will have is my Crusader running. So he also has the assault ramp.
Yeah, the Crusader I think can have it's like 16 transport capacity, so you could just I mean it could just be packed full of guys.
Yeah, you
Like
can have up to
eight different Terminators.
12 in the Land Raider. You can have 16 in the Crusader, and the Redeemer used to be 16 as well. See if it's the same. No, Redeemer can have
Redeemer's
14,
like 14.
so they made it different. I want to see what his gun is though. Flamestorm, 12 inches, D6 +3, Strength 6, neg 2 damage. With the way Overwatch is now, I used to have a Redeemer, got rid of it years ago. That might be worth having in your list. Overwatching with that, Because
Yeah,
because it
it's really good because
because
it's
it
2d6 plus six.
and he's got two flamestorm cannons.
Yeah, so 2d6 plus six.
Six, yeah, yeah. So I might
That's
have to.
like 13 shots.
I should have got me a redeemer at a trade a while ago. They'll probably be going off the shelves now. Pay a premium for it right now, probably.
Yeah, and I think that because how they value las cannon so much, I think the Redeemer is probably going to be cheaper, and I think the Crusader will be even cheaper because I mean, at the end of the day, the Crusader just has what is it? It has Hurricane bolters, like it has Strength 4 bolters.
Yeah,
So I
liked
don't
it.
see how they could.
I just liked it because it had. I always liked it because it had the better transport capacity. I could just get more stuff up the table.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, because I well, Blade Guard can like assault ramp out of these things now.
Yeah, what's the Blade Guard and
Oh wait,
Terminators?
oh yeah, the Crusader does. They all have the assault ramp. Okay, I was just double
All
checking.
of the Laminators had the assault ramp. Yep. All right, then
Okay,
we
cool.
got the
Yeah,
repulsor. Uh,
oh yeah, he's got a
guns.
really good ability there.
Oh, defensive arrays, 18 attacks. Ooh, that's nice. But yeah, pretty much what you expect. Just lots of freaking shots. And what's his thing? Combat embarkation. When you have
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Oh, if you're within three of it, you can jump back in it. If
Yeah,
you
so
get
they
charged.
it's like a reaction. It's a reaction if you have a unit standing near it and they charge a unit, you can embark the unit and then they can basically charge your T12 repulsor if they want to. So
And it's every model is within three, not wholly within three. So as long as any part of their base is within three, you can just jump right back in.
yep, so pretty strong.
Yeah,
Might be good with like eradicators. Might be good with hellblasters. Um,
yeah,
I think that based on what like the what we see in this document, the repulsor and the repulsor execution are probably the most expensive data sheets. It seems like that's the direction that they've gone with this stuff because they kind of do everything. They're a transport, they have support abilities, and they're good
yeah,
at shooting, and they're tough. And they're tough, so they're like a little bit of everything.
because the repulsor can carry 12. The executioner can carry
Can carry
6.
6. Yeah.
That's not bad. Oh, and it specifically says Wolfen on these, so I can put my Wolfen in these things.
Yep. Yep.
Although Wolfen take up 2 spots, so you can only put 3 in there, and they come in units of 5, so they really can't get in there. You can put 2 Centurions in it. You can't take them all of 2. That's weird that all this stuff can get in here, but we don't have the capacity for any of you to actually get in there. 3 Terminators, 3 Gravis, maybe a
Oh,
Gravis
for
for
the
the
repulsor, you mean?
for the Executioner. It's got a transport capacity of 6, but all the like jump pack, Wolfen,
Oh
Gravis,
yeah. You can't have
term
2 Centurions, I don't think.
no Gravis units. You could take 3 of some of those, so you can put those in there. But Wolfen, jump pack. I guess this stuff could get in later in the game, but you couldn't start them in there early until they
Nah,
lose models.
I think it's like it's a copy paste basically.
Yep, yeah, they just changed the 12 to a 6 and copied the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I guess there could be a spot late in the game. You have 1 Wolfen or 1 Terminator or 1 Centurion left, and you don't want them to die. You just hop in the transport, take them somewhere else to do something later.
Yeah, and the executioner for the we think that the repulsor executioner is probably the most expensive data sheet. What they did was they took a bunch of the extra weapons that it had. Repulsors had too many guns, and it was impossible to keep track of
Yep.
because you had to declare like 7 or 8 different weapon types before you started shooting. So that what they did was is like in order to simplify it, they they combined like 2 or 3 weapons into the defensive array, so it makes it a lot easier to figure out.
Gotcha.
So I mean, I appreciate that they did that because now you're not like confusing your opponent every time it's your shooting phase.
Yeah. Confusing yourself. I hate that when you have
Yeah,
some of that many
confusing
guns, you shoot
everyone.
like 3 different units and you're halfway through rolling. Wait, I declared this gun on which one?
Yeah, it's impossible to remember because they all have crazy names,
Yeah.
like
Right.
the
And then we got
oh
the
whatever. Yeah, so
good old fashioned Rhino. Uh, just gains 1 wound at at the end of your command phase. Wonder why it's at the end instead of start. That's weird. I don't know why that would make a difference. But alright, just regain 1 lost wound. Oh, it's after battle shock. So if he's below half, you have to battle shock before you regain this. I think that's the only thing I can think of that would
oh
affect
yeah,
that.
that's right.
Then he can take
That's
12
right. Yeah.
models. I'm glad they pumped all these guys up to 12 now, so that you could take a 10-man with two characters, or two 5-mans, each with their own character, and get in the Rhino now. If
Yep.
they kept it at 10, it
Yep.
would.
A little bit of an interesting restriction here because they see how it says it can't transport Tacticus models. So Tacticus is basically another word for Primaris.
Yeah, Tacticus,
Um,
Phobos, Gravis, in terms of basically, it can only take firstborn Marines, it looks like.
for the most part, yeah, but it's kind of a weird gray area because they I don't think all of the Primaris don't have the Tacticus keyword, but most of them do. Like almost all of them do. So in general, yeah, this really only holds firstborn, but there's a couple of exceptions, I think.
Alright.
I just haven't looked at it a whole lot.
Alright, we'll have to look into that. But yeah, that's so. That'd be interesting, yeah, because if the intercessors and assault intercessors have.
Tacticus, yeah, I think they do, yeah.
Yeah, because that's interesting then. Because yeah, we know all the others have Phobos, so. Alright, well. Then we have the Razorback. After this model shot, select one enemy unit hit to scored against. Obviously, you can give reroll wounds to a unit that got out of this, and it can hold 6 models.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so that's okay. You know, he's just a little mobile shooting platform, gives a small buff to one small unit you had inside him. I guess that'd be do a Devastator unit. That might be the most useful thing popping out, because I'm assuming he has the same
Yeah.
restrictions. Yes, you probably can't put the Desolation or anything in there. Yes, you hop a
No.
Devastator squad out. He has. Does he have a firing? He doesn't have a firing port that I see. Does the
No.
Rhino?
No.
Rhino has. You can shoot 2 out
Yeah,
of a
Raz
Rhino,
2.
none out of a Razorback. You give that up to take the gun.
Yep, that's
Alright,
right.
that's okay. Then the Impulsor. Units can disembark from this transport after it is advanced, and units that do so count as having made a normal move and cannot declare a charge that turn. Alright, so the unit, so you can advance this and jump out, and you count as just making a normal move, not an advance. And then you can
Yeah,
shoot.
so they can shoot, they can advance, disembark, and shoot.
Yeah, without counting as having advanced. So that's cool. And then they have a firing deck of 6. Then,
Yep.
oh, you use strategy 1, you can possibly get a 5-up back. He has shield dome, so it's a 5-up invul. Um, does not look like he has fly, which I was hoping they'd give back to him,
Nope.
but he just has a
Yeah,
12
I guess
inch move.
they didn't do that. That was like a mistake on their web store, I think.
Well, he used to have it when he first came out. He had fly and a 4-up invul, and he was amazing. And then they took both of them away from him, and it's just not as good. And then they can carry up to 6 models, Tacticus or Phobos. So it can only take Tacticus or Phobos, so it can't take regular Marines. So for some reason,
Yep.
most of them, they took the restrictions away, but Rhinos and Impulsors are still kind of dedicated to their 2 types.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure why they did that. It seems a little sloppy because they
Well,
wanted to make Land Raiders really good, but then the
well,
other transports just kind of.
I have an idea, because everybody I know that's played forever has like 6 Rhinos sitting on their shelf, and if they could just put the old Primaris in them, they wouldn't go buy Impulsors.
Oh yeah, that's.
So I think
that's
they
true.
want to sell more Impulsors, because they sold a little bit great, but once they nerfed them, Impulsors stopped selling, and
Yeah,
so I think
I
they
think
just want to sell some Impulsors.
I think the really good play here is you just take your impulsor and you get that like 3D printed gladiator upgrade kit, and you make it a
Right.
gladiator lancer, and then you magnetize it.
Yeah. Then we got the drop pod. Then so you don't count as toward reserves, and you can bring it in on the first turn, between the first and third turns. So just the same as it does now. It and the units in it don't count toward your reserve restrictions, and you can come in turn 1.
Yep, and
Uh,
you can put Phobos and you can put Tacticus in there too. So the drop pod is not restricted.
all right, yeah, and it's only 10 models though, so that's the only thing. It's just going to be, you can't take a 10-man unit with a character, or two
Right.
fives with characters.
But I think you could do it probably a 9 if you wanted to like really hit like have something hit super hard, you could do like a 9 model unit with a character, like maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah. I'm
Strand
just
Guard or.
saying with the rhinos and stuff, they gave it that 12, so you could do the full squads
Oh
with.
yeah, yeah.
But these they didn't, which also affects. Oh no, nothing counts as 2 or 3. You just can't take that stuff. All right, so it doesn't. Never mind. It doesn't affect that.
The drop pod is OC2, which is kind of cool because it's stationary after all, and a lot of the like stationary stuff doesn't have good OC value. So
Yeah.
I kind of like that they. Oh, it's only T7, but I don't know. It's
T7, 8 wounds. Yeah, it's once it's down and the doors are open, it's pretty much done its job.
yeah, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same as it is now.
Yeah. All right, then we got the Lance Feeder Storm. Each time a unit disembarks from this model after it's made a normal move, that unit is still eligible to declare a charge this turn. All right, I think it only carries scouts. Used to scouts, sniper scouts, and Sergeant Tellian. That's all it can take.
Yeah, he's an Ultramarine scout
Yeah.
scout character.
All right, so your scouts can jump out of this and charge. I'm not sure how much you want to be charging your scouts into stuff, but if you want to, that's something you can do.
Yeah, combat knives everywhere, right?
Yeah. And solid okay weapons, decent amount of shots on the one, but strength AP not very good. All right. Yeah, the only thing you're gonna bring him if you want to run some scouts somewhere. That's pretty much
Yeah,
all he's really there for. Stormhawk Interceptor. I forgot these were even a thing.
yeah. I didn't look at these aircraft a whole lot because I don't know. I'm not really a big
All
aircraft
right,
guy.
+1 to hit against fly. Uh, Nothing else really seems to jump out. Missiles, just like a standard missile. Assault cannon. Yeah, so nothing.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, just an aircraft you can fly around, put some shotouts with. Then we have the Storm Talon. Attack. This one gets +1 to units that cannot fly, so he's the opposite. He's shooting your ground stuff. Nothing really jumps out here. I mean, strength 12 on his las cannon, but it's only one shot. Uh, what else we got? Storm Raven. What we got with the Storm Raven? The Storm Raven also has the -1 damage.
Yeah, Storm Raven's really cool. I actually I bought one of those recently.
At
A cool
T10,
thing.
14 wounds. I got my
So
Space Wolf Stormfang up there, so hopefully they get similar rules.
there's a funny rules interaction with this Storm Raven. So it can hold 12 infantry. It's not restricted, so like you can put Primaris in this,
Mm-hmm.
and then it can also it's and a dreadnought as well. So
Yep.
this thing can just transport like a whole army. Um, so the joke is that like you can put this in hover mode, and then you can move it 20 inches or whatever, and then disembark and shoot all that stuff.
Yep.
Like with your dreadnought. So the funny thing is see how it says it can transport one dreadnought model. Well,
Yep.
a bunch, all of the small dreadnoughts have the dreadnought keyword, I think,
Mm-hmm.
but the Redemptor and the Ballistus doesn't have it, but then the Brutalis dreadnought does have the dreadnought keyword for some reason. So technically, you could put a Brutalis dreadnought in this model. However, when you go to disembark that like very large Brutalis dreadnought, it won't be able to disembark because it can't. Its base doesn't fit completely within 3 inches of this model. So it can't,
When you
it can go inside.
disembark, you have to wholly be within 3.
Correct. So the base is too big, so you're not allowed to disembark.
Gotcha.
However, if you have one of those inside of if you have a what's it called, Brutalis inside of this, and it dies, then it rolls. It'll roll for an emergency disembark.
Hmm.
So it's really weird. It's a weird rules interaction. I don't know if that's intended for it to be like that, but it's just funny that you can have this big like hard to kill thing, and then a Brutalis pops out.
Yeah.
Because I mean this thing's so fast that it could end up wherever you want. Like it can fly over the whole board.
Yeah.
So definitely kind of a funny. It's interesting. It has good weapons.
Although,
too. Like everything about this is good.
Model's destroyed, you have to disembark within 3, right? Or count as destroyed if you can't be placed.
Correct. Or if you can't. Yeah, when the model's destroyed, if you can't be placed within 3, then you have to roll for emergency disembark, which is like double. It's like double lethal. It's like you die if you emergency disembark, you die in a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Or no, sorry, that's fallback. That's the fallback. No, you take a mortal if you roll one or two. Like the unit takes a mortal on a roll of one or two.
Oh, that's right. It's just a mortal now. I forgot that. That's right. I do remembering that. All right. So
Yeah,
he would. So
but
I was thinking, oh, a third of the time you're dying anyway, but no, you'll just take a
no,
mortal.
desperate breakout is you die. Like when you fall back with desperate breakout, you die on a
Yeah.
one or two, and it's like it's in the core rules.
Yeah. Well, the transport one used to be the same way, but yeah, now it's just a mortal, which is the same against one model, one wound units, but against multi wound units, it's so much better. I don't know how many times I'd impulsor blow up and I'd lose like two blade guard. Like
Yeah.
so.
Oh yeah. They really improved like all those rules are really like drastically improved for
Yep.
transports and stuff. So
All right.
so I don't know if anyone wants to play the Storm Raven with the Brutalis inside, like it would definitely be a good time. Like I'm sure it would be fun for everybody involved.
All right. Here it is. Hammerfall Bunker.
All right. All right. So definitely my favorite model. Uh, they they buffed this thing up outrageously. I don't want to. I mean, I'm gonna have to focus on this because like I love it so much. But this used to be a vehicle. So, but what this does now is defensive array. Whenever an enemy is set up, normal move, advanced fallback within range of this weapon, which is we are taking the bolters, right? So it's range 36 on heavy bolter array. So this is just a double heavy bolter. So it's 6 shots, hits on fours, strength 5 -1 2 damage, sustained hits twin link. So this is actually a double twin link bolter. So this would be equivalent. This is equivalent to this model having 4 heavy bolters, and then it has 2 super crack shots as well, super crack or super frag, which are both good. Super crack, strength 10. So it's all BS4 though. So it definitely needs some buffs to get going. But this defensive array is whenever an enemy moves within 36, like basically at any time on their turn, you can shoot up to 4 times with this quad heavy, essentially a quad heavy bolter, is what it is.
So you could shoot
So
4 different units with this if they move within range in the same turn.
right, so for yeah, I don't know if you can shoot the same target. No, because well, if they keep moving, you could technically shoot the same target, but I don't think there's any way to do that. So you basically have to shoot different targets, and it still requires line of sight because like this is a stationary fortification. Um, the fortification keyword is like listed here. This is basically exactly what you expect. Um, this thing is still OC0, so like if in ninth, fortifications counted as OC0 as well, so it still doesn't have an OC value. Where they improved this thing is they made this thing T12. So I mean T12 is crazy. It's the same toughness as like a Land Raider. It's equivalent to the toughest vehicle that Space Marines have, and it's a 2-up armor save. So this is literally it's 2 wounds less than a Land Raider, but everything about it is the exact same toughness as a Land Raider. There's no way that this thing is anywhere close in points to a Land Raider because it can't move and it has OC0.
Yep.
So I think the other thing that this guy does is it has Ceramite cover. Basically, what that means is it's the same rule that the Baneblade has. So any model that like blocks visibility, or if this model blocks visibility to any of your friendly models, like with any part of its model, then they get benefit of cover. So obviously this rule is better on a Baneblade, but being able to set up like a base and like having this super tough model is excellent. I would say the third thing I really like about this is it's not a vehicle anymore. So it's a fortification, and we've seen tons of anti-vehicle. It's all over the place, but this doesn't have any keywords that like make it an easy to kill target. Because all of those, like we're assuming that a lot of stuff will have anti-vehicle, but we've seen almost no anti-fortification. So this thing's going to be putting out a ton of heavy bolter shots. It's going to be prohibitively hard to kill, and it shores up, it basically shores up your backline. So I think that this is excellent. Like it's really really good.
Now the other thing I see is if someone got engagement range with it, since it doesn't have vehicle anymore, you wouldn't be able to shoot out. So that would be a way to turn off your shooting people as they move if you could get into combat with it.
Oh, yeah, we actually, yeah, that's true, but we need more rules because the actual like full rules for fortifications are in the GT pack and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
So
we'll see.
we still don't know all the like
Yeah.
the rules and conditions of fortifications.
Yeah, so yeah, unless they give them that same
But
caveat that they gave to monsters and vehicles, that would be one way to kind of shut that down. But you got to make it there first.
correct, yeah,
Getting shot by it every time you move. And I
yeah,
wonder,
and we're hoping
could you defensive array and Overwatch with it. So like shoot them with your bolters from a
Yeah,
distance, right? Then Overwatch, shoot them with your bolters and all your other guns.
yeah, but yeah, and Overwatch is worse than defensive array though, because Overwatch only hits on 6, and it requires them to be within 24. So I don't think you'd want Overwatch on this thing. I
Unless they
think you'd
got
want to just
close
defensive
enough.
array every time.
Yeah, because do you pick the bolter
Oh
or
yeah,
the flamer, or
unless
do you
like
have both?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the
unless they're.
flamer would be much better on Overwatch, but it's only range 12 though, which is kind of bad.
Oh yeah, so you have to replace the heavy bolter with the heavy flamer. Yeah, so that you wouldn't do that. It is a lot of shots though, but yeah, you probably wouldn't
Yeah,
waste time doing it.
it's just crazy how much fire this thing puts out, because it's like it's this thing's, as long as it has line of sight, it's basically always going to trigger. And I think that if someone starts wanting to kill this and put it, I think it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if they start attacking this thing, it's a huge waste of resources.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think they can gain any value from trying to kill this. Because like, let's say that it takes 1,500 points of their army trying to kill this, and they kill it. It's like, what did they kill? Like they killed a model that's worth 130 points or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
I hope it's 300 points, Nick. I don't
think
want to
that
have to deal with this.
Well, right now this is 100 points, and
Oh my
it
god!
might
If
be
it's still 100
I-
points, oh my god! I'm going to
uh,
ATC with just
well, all I'm saying
Hammerfall
is
bunkers.
I bought 3 of these things, and like I might be taking these to ATC. So
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the type of stuff you see. That's what happened to 8th edition. The first ATC is everybody, like a bunch of people find these one little things that gets around, like doesn't work the way they thought, and just like spams it. Hopefully nothing's as bad as like 800 Razorwing flocks, but
well, yeah, there's still rule of 3, right? So you can't have more than 3
yeah, we
handful
didn't have rule
bunkers,
of three
but
back then. Yeah, it was like 5, 6 Storm Reavers with Gilliman. Like it was 8th edition. I think it was 8th edition Index ATC was the
so
stupidest thing ever.
this is actually another reason why we need the GT, like we need the what's it called, like where the FAQ where they clarify the rules.
Now,
That
they're
they're
putting
gonna
out
do
a
like a,
designer's commentary. I'm assuming it'll
we need
drop.
that because
Yeah, when the on the 24th when the box drops, I'm hoping they give it to us that day.
right. So because if you look at the wording, this is a problem, because if you look at the wording on defensive array, let's say that you did just play 3 hammerfall bunkers and like you spent the 300 or 400 points or whatever.
Mhm.
Like technically the way this works is like when the enemy when they end their movement or they set up or whatever, uh, yeah, sets up or ends normal move, advanced fallback. If you had 3 of these and they all had line of sight, you could technically shoot all 3 of them.
Oh yeah,
So that means like they set up their deep strike and they get hit with 3 quad heavy bolters. Like, and I mean it's not like it's gonna auto kill anything, but that's just, and then you could do that 4 times. So if they, so it's like a cumulative, like, so we don't know if this defensive array is listed in the commentary as only being able to trigger once, but like so far it doesn't seem like it. So this might be an oversight. We don't know, but this just seems outrageous.
yeah, yeah. I hope not, because it's like one of those things. Like, all right, they end a move, then you shot. Well, now they're not ending a move again, so now you can't shoot because something happened in between. Like, hope
Yeah,
they clarify it some way like that.
yeah, they need to clarify this because it's gonna get silly if they don't.
Yeah, or make up 200 points, or spend 600 points. Even then, it's still, even at 200 points. If they let them combo like that, it might be worth 600 points of your list.
Well, considering it's OC0, I don't think it's worth that much. I think the value of this maybe caps out at around 140, 150,
All
because
right.
you don't want to invest that many points in something that has OC0 and can't move, because it's just too much of a vulnerability.
Yeah. Maybe if
'Cause-
you already own them and you're going to an RTT just to mess with people. But yeah, it's something super competitive. Probably not.
well, yeah, because the critical thing with these bunkers is they don't score and they don't win you the game, right?
Yep.
Like just shooting someone with a billion heavy bolters doesn't win you the game. Like it doesn't score anything.
Yep.
So it's kind of a support. It's a support unit.
All right, so that looks like the last regular data sheet. Then we go into the armory, and now they're probably going to take us down. Yep. Now we run into Captain Sakaris.
Oh yeah. A lot of these characters are kind of generic-y.
All right,
Like
yeah, you just tell me who's worth scrolling through, who's worth not, because we're at 3 hours right now. So
yeah, yeah.
anything not
It's-
worth spending time on, we'll just skim through.
Okay, so Sakaris, he's like a scout captain. I don't know. Doesn't really. doesn't really matter. This stuff is Ultramarine specific,
Yeah.
so
Well,
if you
so
play Ultramarines, you get access to some of these extra characters. Um,
well, if you play
so take
Ultramarines, I don't want you watching my channel anyway. So let's just skip all these. I'm just
t-
kidding. I'm just kidding.
yeah, I like Ultramarines. They're fine.
Yeah, no, they're good.
Tigurius is still good. He has a hood of he attaches to a intercessor, assault intercessor, or stern guard.
Yep.
He gives the unit a 4-up feel no pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. So he has like a super. He's
Oh,
a super librarian defensive profile.
yeah. He's always
So
been a
that's
beast.
nice.
Yep.
And then he has another aura is the unit he leads. Uh, each time an attack targets that unit, subtract -1 from the hit roll.
Gotcha.
And then
And
he
he
has,
has. Yep.
and then it has, it's like a captain thing too. He can do a free. It's almost like a rites of battle, but it's worse. He can do a 0 CP counteroffensive, Overwatch, go to ground, or heroic.
Yep.
So it's kind of
Alright.
like a worse version of the captain one.
Yep.
Uh,
That's pretty solid. And then his Witchfire is 2 damage, D6
yeah,
and 2. Yeah. Yeah. So Tiki looks good.
yeah, Tiki's good. So Marnius Kelgar is in a unit now, and Marnius Kelgar is weird because he can attach to like 7 different types of squads. So what people have been saying is you can put him like in a Blade Guard squad, and he comes with 2 models in his unit. Like he has 2 Honor Guard, so you
Yeah.
can make this like massive squad. So basically, like you take your 6 Blade Guard, you add your Marnius, he's a Chapter Master, and then you add your Ancient, your Blade Guard Ancient. So you have a 10 model Blade Guard squad with a Ultramarines character in it. Pretty badass. Because the like thematically, I think the Blade Guard fit in really well with the Honor Guard as well.
Yep.
So it's just yeah, like if you play Ultramarines and you like Marnius Calgar, I think doing that is pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And they get to just shoot and fall back in a turn in which it advanced or fell back. Oh, so they advance or fall back and still shoot or charge all the time. And then he
yep.
gives you +1 CP in your command phase, and he gets a 4-up feel no pain on himself as long as the Honor Guard are alive, which will really only matter if he's getting hit by precision. But if someone is trying to snipe him out, he's got that 4 no pain, feel no pain in there. All right.
Yep, and the Honor Guard are basically just a slightly better version of a Blade Guard too. Like it's a Blade Guard with +1 attack and +1 save or something.
Yeah, and
So
basically his gauntlets are the old Thunderhammer profile, 8 neg 3 damage, like from the real old Thunderhammer, and he rerolls wounds. So Marnius
yeah,
is gonna hit hard. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that and
that
Blade
unit,
Guard would be gross.
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, super good. Cronus, Sergeant Cronus is like a tank commander guy. So he has a really weird rule where it says he can he can go inside of a vehicle, and it's a list of 9 different vehicles. He can go in a vehicle that's not a transport, but then he can only get out. He can only get out when the vehicle is destroyed. But when he's in the vehicle, that vehicle, like such as a Land Raider, Land Raider is like the really only relevant one. So like he goes inside of a Land Raider. The Land Raider is a BS2, and then it can reroll one wound when it's selected to shoot. So he just makes the vehicle shoot better. Like he makes a Land Raider better.
And if it dies, he pops out lone operative with OC1.
Yeah,
I mean, just
yeah.
some
He kind
little
of
plays
sucks.
there, but nothing.
He has like a servo arm or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a silly thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see maybe if him and the Whirlwind are cheap enough, given the +1 to hit to a Whirlwind with indirect fire, but like I said earlier, you're probably not taking a Whirlwind if you can take Desolation Marines.
Yeah. There's a Sergeant Tellion. He's like a scout. He's an Ultramarine Scout Sergeant. He's cool because he joins a scout or scout sniper. He gives them +1 OC, and +1 to hit all the time. So the reason he's cool is like because he makes scouts OC2, and I think he makes himself OC2.
Yeah.
It means that you can use your storm speeder with this guy to like steal objectives easier because
Gotcha.
he makes your scouts like equivalent to a battle line OC. So
And then,
he's like a more aggressive guy.
and then he can give lethal hits, precision, or sustained hits to the squad whenever they're selected to do stuff. That's nice.
Yeah, which is basically just going to be it's shoot or fight. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually pretty strong. Yeah, this guy's fine. He's good if you like scouts.
that's cool. Yep, put him in the speeder with him. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, I think scouts might see some play, so we might see him back. Tyrannic War Veterans, devastating wounds targeting Tyranids. All right, so this is probably won't see them in competitive lists because they really are designed to fight one thing.
Yeah, they're old too, old models too.
Yeah, but if you're playing like a fluffy campaign out of the new box or something, you might see that. Uriel Ventress.
Yeah, he's the master of the fleet.
Ah.
He puts a unit into deep strike. I think you just pick a unit.
Alright, so basically he lets his unit get a stratagem even if it's already been used, and his unit can use a stratagem while they're battle shocked. Doesn't make it 0 CP, but you can still duplicate.
Mm.
And he can give you one regular effort unit the deep strike ability. Alright.
Yeah, so this guy actually he unlocks like a triple stratagem potentially if you have enough command points.
Oh,
You can do
nice.
the same stratagem 3 times.
Oh, yeah, with the 0 CP from the captain, yep. And then we got old Bobby G. We've seen him already. He was in the Marine
Yep.
release, so very solid, very cool. No point going back over him again. If you're an Ultramarine player, you've already looked over him a lot, I'm sure.
Yep.
Got
Yeah.
Lysander.
Lysander basically he's a tough guy. He joins a Terminator unit, gives the Terminator unit -1 to wound all the
Gotcha.
time. So it's pretty good. And aside from that, he just has a really strong thunder hammer. He's just
Well,
tough. He's basically just a tough guy.
if the attack is equal to or greater than their toughness. All right, cool.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
And then he can give himself an invul save once per battle, or two up invul
two,
save once per battle.
yeah, for one
Oh, here's
phase.
Targaradon. You keep mentioning him.
Okay, yeah. So this guy is the same like sort of power level as Gilliman. Like this guy, I mean, he doesn't really hit as hard, but he's super good. So the reason Torgaradon's so good is all of his weapons are really strong. Like you've got his fist is like weapon skill 2, strength 12, -2 damage, and then he has like a mastercrafted artificer grav gun. Um, the reason this guy gets crazy is he's Gravis. He attaches to a Grav squad, like he attaches to Eradicators.
Yeah.
He gives Eradicators while leading a unit models. All range weapons equipped by models in the unit have lethal hits and ignores cover. So Meltas ignore cover and they auto wound on 6. Um, and then each time this guy makes an attack with any of his weapons that target a vehicle, monster, or fortification, it's +2 strength, +2 armor pen, and +2 damage. So if he goes and punches like a Carnifex or something, he's strength 14 -4 damage. Which
Targaradon
is
coming for your Hammerfall bunkers.
so this guy. I don't. I mean, I guess they're called the Imperial Fist because of Torgaradon's fist. Like that's what I would assume because like this guy's just outrageous because that Signum Array ability like stacks with other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this guy just turns Eradicators up to 11, and I suspect you'll see this guy just running around with 6 Eradicators, like 5 or 6 Eradicators, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, you're stuck into taking Imperial Fists if you do, but that's not as restrictive as it is now, unless you had another chapter character from a different chapter you really wanted to take.
yep, and I think you might be able to. Well, yeah, he's just super good. This
Yeah.
guy just claps.
And
So
then we got old Pedro Cantor.
he's pretty bad.
He used to be so good. Chris Winans used to run him all the time.
Yeah, yeah, he's not good, unfortunately.
Iron Father
There's not really much.
Farios.
Pharaohs is he gives if you want to use him as a leader, he can only join Gravis. He can give a Gravis unit a 5-up feel no pain. Uh, so it's like he's okay, probably not great. If you want to run him with like aggressors, he makes aggressors really hard to kill. Uh, so that's good.
Yeah, and he's just a better Tech Marine. Heals 3 instead of D3, so he's just a
Yep,
better Tech Marine.
and he hits hard. He
Yeah.
has like 8 attacks. He hits pretty hard.
Oh,
He's probably fine.
then we got Cave and Shrike. He's a
This
leader,
guy.
lone operative, and stealth.
So interestingly, he only joins Firstborn. Like he joins Assault Squad, jump assault and jump Vanguard vets, and then he gives them cannot be shot unless you're within 12.
Oh, so they can get into
So
you with those amazing heirloom weapons without taking any damage.
hey, Assault Squads can still take real weapons. Yeah, pretty
Poor,
much.
poor
So
Vanguard vets.
this guy's not so good. he only has a slightly improved version of the heirloom weapon.
Yeah, he's okay, but the fact that he's limited to these squads, which I'm not a big fan
Yeah,
of right now. Adrax Agatone.
yeah, he's not so good. Uh,
Yes, reroll wounds. Uh, I have the objective control of enemy units. Alright, yeah, nothing.
yeah, these other two, Vulcan's okay. He has like a reroll wound ability that's like conditional. So Vulcan's like a defender because he has that Vulcan Heston is like he's salamanders. He has Seeker of Lost Relics. So at the beginning of the battle, select an objective marker. While this model is on that objective, Vulcan has OC 10, Leadership 5 up, and Feel No Pain 4 up. So he just gets really really chunky. But
Alright.
then like he doesn't want to like leave his home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so there's
I don't know.
probably no
It's
point doing your home objective because you're not leaving back. But yeah, if you pick one in like the one in the middle of the table or something, especially if you're playing, like there's that one mission where on like you remove all the middle objectives, and at the end of the game, there's only one in no man's land that's worth 15 points at the end of the game. So if you like pick that one, but now that only really works in like that one or two missions where there's like one specific objective.
another weird thing with Vulcan is like even though he's firstborn, right? So he can join tactical assault and command squad, but he can also join Inferno squad just because because salamanders.
Salamanders, yeah.
So so they like it's cool that they let salamanders like join a squad that seems salamander specific, like the Infernus squad. So that's a good on them for doing that.
Yeah. Well, here's Kasaro Khan.
Yeah. So this is the end. I don't really know what this guy does. So
Alright, so while this model's leading a unit, ranged weapons equipped by model unit have the assault ability, and melee weapons have the lance ability. Each time he destroys enemy character, you gain 1 CP. Uh,
yep.
that's
So
okay.
it's probably not
He
great.
used to give +1 to wound to everybody near him. I've got
Yeah. I
him
don't know
up
why
on
they got rid of
I've
that.
got him up on my shelf from when I played White Scars. Lance is okay. Assault's okay. Just auto getting it. But yeah, Khan isn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem nearly as good as he used to be. He's a leader, so you can attach him to Salt Intercessors, Intercessors, and Stern Guard. So very limited to what he can join.
Yep.
Weapons
Yep.
okay. Yeah, he's just okay. And yep, that's it. So
Well, I think we
overall,
we covered everything.
yeah, overall I think Marines look pretty good. Uh, Torgaradon probably the well, other than Bobby G, Torgaradon probably the coolest character. Uh, Interested to see how Nick's hammerfalls are pointed and how that works out for him. But all right, well, anything else you want to